Call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bruce, roll call, please.
Councilmember Barrett.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Griswold.
Here.
Councilmember Ellis.
Present.
Councilmember Gazelle.
Present.
Mayor Kudrowski.
Here.
Councilmember Cusick. Need a motion for Councilmember C.
He is walking on in.
I move that I'm here.
All right, present, all accounted for. On page 3, we have the minutes from the June 18th meeting. Please take a look at them, and if they're in order, I need a motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
On pages 9 through 12, we have a couple of boards, committees, and commission minutes we need to accept in the public domain. I need a motion to accept.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public comment? Do we have any public comment? Okay, well, at this point, it's my pleasure. This is actually the best honor I have as mayor, is to present this proclamation. Mary, would you please come up to the front? As the mayor and city council and the residents here wish to give you this proclamation to honor you and your late husband, Ralph, as the Gulf Chamber Commerce Legacy on the Lake of World History. The legacy of which presents an outstanding individual and displays leadership and aid others in such a way that inspires and strengthens the community. Mary and Ralph Wilson have been extremely charitable and the village of Grosse Pointe Coast has greatly benefited from their efforts to hold a special place in the Grosse Pointe community, serving above and beyond on numerous occasions. Whereas Mary and Ralph Wilson are not only one of the Grosse Pointe community, but also for establishing a legacy of philanthropy throughout the metropolitan Detroit area. Their efforts are an illustration of the dedication of one's community and personifies the meaning of being persons of honor. Their stewardess, charity, and friendship continue to exemplify the meaning of loyalty to one's community. Whereas Mary and Ralph Wilson found it very much that they had a great passion for Western New York, and have laid the plans for a charitable foundation of Ralph students to distribute back to both of his love in Detroit and Buffalo. Mary has been an ardent advocate of the Buffalo Bill and the Buffalo area for the last 25 years, and today devotes a significant amount of time carrying on the husband's legacy and passion for philanthropy, something she's proud and honored to do. As one of 4 life trustees of the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation, Mary is committed to improving the lives of the people of Western New York and Southeast Michigan for years to come. And therefore, the 16th day of July 2019, I, Mayor Becky Kudrowski, the City Council, and all residents of Grosse Pointe Shores, here in celebrating with Mary and Ralph Wilson, congratulate them on their outstanding achievements in this time. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's all true. That's all true. It's in the spirit of everything I pass by in scripture, I look at that plaque on the wall, and the wall of honor, and I think about, I only wish they could win the Super Bowl at least one. I mean, if there were 3 or 4 times.
Four, yeah.
4 times. And what people don't know is Gary in March of 2003 was the #1 ranked player in the country, in singles, in the Masters division. And like a 2-time singles national champion, a 3-time doubles champion.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, next item 8 is the Kiwanis, the Grosse Pointe Kiwanis chapter.
Good evening. I'm Deborah Renshaw. I'm the new president of the Kiwanis Club. We've restarted the Kiwanis Club here in Grosse Pointe. So, and this is Alan Lowenthal, who is one of our board members. So we just wanted to really stop in and introduce ourselves and invite you to come join us. And also, Alan's going to be reaching out to the city council members and the mayors and whatnot to see what it is that you need us to do or want us to do in the communities.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Thank you for the time just to speak just for a few minutes to you. A description of what the Kiwanis does is actually quite simple. The description is simple. It's to help children. And that's all it's about, is helping the community's children. We look forward, Deborah and I, growing the chapter in the Grosse Pointes to do just that. As Deborah said, we'll be reaching out to you. We'd love the participation of one or more of you in the organization, and we'll be reaching out. We like to listen. What you think are the needs of the children of the Grosse Pointes, specifically the shores, and hear what you have to say about what those needs are. There's no one child of the Grosse Pointes. There are many different children in the Pointes with very different needs. We'd love to hear and get your input on what we can do to help them. Thank you again for
Oh, thank you, Al. Thank you, Deborah.
this.
When do you meet? How often do you meet, and where do you meet?
We meet twice a month on Monday at 6 o'clock up on the hill.
Okay.
In my offices,
Oh.
and you all are welcome anytime. We'll send you a schedule, and we encourage you to come, and I'll be reaching out just to try to get some input from each of you. But thank you very much.
Good. Thank you for coming and letting us know about your fine group.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next, Prudence, would you like to talk about the Grosse Pointe Public Library? All the exciting programs that are on the horizon.
Thank you for having me. First of all, let me apologize for not being here last month. There was a little mix-up. I was actually on a plane flying home from Seattle, so I knew I was on the agenda last month, but I'm here now. So anyway, you have a copy of my presentation, so it's in hard copy. What I want to do is just update you on, we're at the end of our fiscal year. The library runs the same as the school system. And I also happen to be on the Helm board. And our fiscal year there runs from October 1st through September 30th. And I thought, you know, if somebody would just get all the fiscal years in the same time frame, it would help a lot. But be that as it may, we've just finished up our fiscal year. So I'm going to share with you a little bit of the numbers. My next slide is just to remind you that we are operating at the library from a 5-year strategic plan. So everything you're going to hear about is something that we have planned out over the next 5 years. And what I thought I would update you on tonight is this capital assessment plan. This was part of the strategic plan. It was done to ask patrons as well as librarians what needed to be done to our physical structures. to make them more function better for the community. And so I'm going to share with you some of those things. The two aspects of the plan are maintenance and then improving how the library actually functions within its physical structure. So if you go to slide 4, it says Central Branch. You have some statistics on Central Branch there, but the most important thing is there's 3 initiatives that we're going to do this year, starting July 1. One is to get the Central Branch registered on the National Registry of Historic Places, which I know the Shores just was named on the registry. So that will be one of the initiatives. The second one is roof repairs, which isn't very sexy, but very important because we do have some leaks in the roof. And the third thing, which is to me the most exciting, is we're going to do some exterior enhancements and turn the front of Ewald, in front of Central Branch, into what we're calling a front room. And so it's going to be set up with more garden benches and things so that people can actually sit out there and read and make it more a part of the library as opposed to the library starts at the door. And with that change, we're also going to deal with some ADA improvements. We are not in compliance. Now Central, because it's older, as you see on there, it's 67 years old. It doesn't have to do all the things for enhancements, but there are some things we need to do in the restrooms as well as getting into the building. So that will be fixed on the front. If you go to the next slide, I'm going to talk about Ewald. Ewald is 15 years old. It's hard to imagine. It seems like it's much newer than that. Ewald is primarily going to be dealing with maintenance issues this year. We've got parking lot and paver restoration to do. We also have roof repairs. Back about 3 months ago, the librarians came in and water was pouring in the ceiling of the front desk. So there is some significant roof issues. There's also some other things that are not particularly exciting, but window caulking and tuck pointing. For some reason, Ewald really hasn't been maintained to the level it should be. I suppose it's a lot like when you're in your house and you don't look at things, and if you move into a house and it's new, you check everything out, but when you've been in it for a while, you don't pay attention sometimes. And so these window caulking and tuck pointing are really important. The moldings inside Ewald are disintegrating badly. They're badly water damaged in some areas. And then some interior finish upgrades, and that's because of the window caulking and things that were needed. And then the last is the Wood Branch. And as you can see, that's 13 years old. Woods is going to get some very noticeable remodeling. We are not ADA compliant, in particular the floating staircase. If you've been in the Woods Branch, anyone? Mm-hmm. You know, there's a floating staircase that goes up to the second floor. And what the assessment that was done, there is a potential for a child's foot to fall between the stairs and the wall, which nobody ever thought of, and it's been that way for all these years, but we're going to have that fixed now. So there is a problem with that stairway. And I think the most exciting thing, there's the HVAC has to have some more venting, and but the most exciting thing is that in the front, when you walk into the woods, over to the right, there is a room that's set up for audiovisual, movies and audiobooks. And that's going to all be changed and turned into a cafe and a book sell, a place where the friends can sell the books that they now do in the basement. So it's going to make the library a little more friendly, we think, and that there'll be other things moved around to accommodate this change. So I think the most exciting remodeling is being done at the Woods. And there are other things that are coming in the next 2 or 3 years, but this is what we're doing this year. The total cost for the capital upgrades is $1,474,000. This money has been set aside in the budget, and so there isn't a problem with expenses of doing this. So we have money that's been set aside for repairs and things. So if you go to the next slide, the financial results. On there, I've just listed whether, I don't know if you're interested or not in knowing, but what our income is. We have income and expense. We have other income and other expenses with a net income of $410,246. So see on here, the library's income is, before expenses, $6,342,000, and other income is $1,397,000. That other income comes from our investments as well as from the money that's set aside to pay down the debt from the two libraries, Ewald and Woods. So,
Prudence's other expenses, the actual bonds then, or include the
Yes.
bonds?
yes, yeah.
It's $2.552 million.
Right, it's the paying off the principal as well as the interest. So we're paying it down. And then the last thing, I thought what I would do is I thought about bringing some things with me so I could make sure you all have library cards, because I can sign you up, but I didn't do that because I bet you all have library cards. But I wanted to, each time I come, I want to share with you another aspect of the library, because the library is no longer the library that we knew as children. It is much more advanced and has many, many things that it offers. For instance, I got to go to the park last week, Ted, when the librarians came and did a reading story hour in the park. And there were children there, and then the park director had set up also someone to come and do crafts. So that was the first visit, and it's one of 3 that will happen this summer, one each month. And then this Thursday is the major visit, which is a much longer visit with librarians and the bookmobile as well as crafts and things like that. So they do we do one major visit to each of the Grosse Pointe parks during the summer, and then we're also doing, at Ted's request, 3 visits, June, July, and August, for a reading hour. So, and I guess one of the things was their kids were in swimming, so they're going to try to rearrange the schedule a little bit so that when the librarians are there, more children can be there. But what I wanted to show you on this list is the databases that you can have access to through your library. You don't even have to go to the library. So, except for Ancestry.com, they require you to use the library computers to access it. But you don't have to buy a membership to Ancestry. You can go to the library if you want to do Ancestry research. But these are the list of all of the various things that we have that people can, you go and sign in, you use your library card number, and you're good to go. So this month I'm highlighting the website databases. And with that, I just want to say thank you again for letting me come. And if you need a library card, let me know. Or if you don't want to go in and get one, I'll get it for you. Yeah.
I have a question, Prudence. We have those wonderful little library houses,
Yeah.
one in the park. Is there a way that possibly the library could stock? I know ours in the Shores Park has been a little light lately. Just a different plethora of books.
Yeah, it has a leak.
It had a leak.
Oh, okay.
That's either fixed it, it's now fixed, and the library does provide some
Some
extra books.
extra books. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And,
Okay.
actually, they come from the Friends. So
Right.
there's the Friends and the Foundation, and the Friends are the ones that collect the books that people give them, and then they sell them, and so they're the ones that provide the books that go, as well as excess books that the library has.
Okay.
It had a roof leak,
Oh, okay.
which is in keeping with your comment.
I guess,
Right,
yes,
they
I
do
guess,
have a
yes,
roof
even that needs
Yeah.
to have a roof
And we're
repair.
inspecting, I guess the foundation is inspecting all of the little libraries at all of the parks to see if anyone else has leaks.
Okay.
So,
That's a
there-
wonderful service. I love that.
Well, thank you so much, Prudence.
any other questions?
Are there any other questions?
Needs?
Just a comment. The book bike's been coming to the park, and it's been a very well-received feature that, I think Allison's happy with, and I've heard a lot of positive feedback from, so I wanted to thank you for that. And also wondered if, on the days that the book bike comes, is it possible that maybe the Friends could put together like a small group of children's books that might be available at a, light price for kids to maybe purchase books that day?
I can check. They do bring books that they can check out, and
Right.
the librarians are there ready to, they can check out.
Because, I've been down there, and sometimes you got books for a quarter, 50 cents, and $1. Or,
Yeah.
so it might be fun for the kids to be able to actually get a book. Just a thought.
I'll make that suggestion to the librarians. This Thursday, I think,
Yeah.
might be a little close, but maybe the next month we could see about bringing some books.
Great.
Very
Thank
good
you.
report. Thank you,
Thank you.
Prudence.
Thank you.
All right, the next item, Rhonda, reports by chairpersons.
Good evening, everyone. As you attached to your packet from me is very light this month, and that's due to the fiscal year ending June 30th. We haven't gone through the year-end processing since there's still a lot of invoices coming through. So hopefully August I'll have the remainder of the packet, if not for sure in September. The auditors will be here the first full week of October. They pushed it back that far because normally they're waiting until that time to get the actuarial information from me in order to complete the audit. So we just pushed it back to that point. In your packet, you have your list of wire transfers. There's nothing unusual here. I did forget to put in that I will be starting the tax distributions to the counties, schools, and so forth that we've been collecting summer taxes for. We move on to the list of checks issued since the last council meeting. There's a lot of park and pool related items, whether it's pool chemicals or lifeguard uniforms. We also had a check payable for the weed and algae treatment in the harbor. And then mainly normal billings for whether it's the gasoline usage, utility usage, legal services. There was a payment to IT Right for 7 new PCs because 7 of us, which includes mine, still running on Windows 7, so they need to be updated. Probably half of that bill is being taken out of the drug law enforcement fund since those are computers used in the police department. Do you have any questions regarding any of the bills?
Are there any questions? If not, I need a motion to approve this check run.
Mr. Mayor, look, I know this is the right time to do it. There's a check in here for $20,000 to the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club. And that check was not, that disbursement was not pre-approved by the council. Any expenditure over $10,000 has to have approval by the council. And by approving the check without authorization, we're violating our internal accounting controls. That would be a material breach of those controls that we would get dinged for by the auditors. We can't approve checks. We can't make disbursements and then approve them later. That check's been released already, I assume.
Yes.
So we're already in non-compliance by doing that. So we would either have to make we can't make a retroactive motion, but we could at least make a motion at this point to acknowledge that there was a breakdown in the accounting controls and resolve that any future disbursements over the $10,000 threshold that the city manager has authority for are approved by the council in advance. Or in addition to that, we have the requirement that we have a bid for all items unless we waive that requirement. We've waived it in the past for engineering services and other things. So I just want to point that out at this point because we're going to get dinged for it, for sure.
So then I welcome a curative motion to
I don't know if it's curative.
Sometimes
it's better to ask for forgiveness and permission, but again, the point being that we cannot expend monies prior to approval by the council. In this case, while it was a noble idea and it's a good, whatever, I'm not questioning any of that. I'm the procedure person, and the procedure guy says you didn't follow procedures. We can't expend monies that way. So I would make a motion to approve the check run, subject to a motion that the council approve the expenditure. What was it, $20,000 to the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club for a firework sponsorship or whatever it was, in terms of doing that.
dated July 4th, or the date it was released.
I think
Is that-
July 3rd is when I
July
wrote the
3rd.
check.
Okay, is there a second for that motion? Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you, Bruce.
One other item I'd like to mention. The Michigan Municipal League started a program last year. It's called the 1650 Project. And what it is, it's to seek to remove barriers and provide training to increase the number of women in leadership roles in local government. The 1650 name comes from 16% of local chief administrative officers are women, even though they make up more than half the population. Thus, 1650 Project. Last year, there was over 100 candidates that applied for the program. 24 were accepted. This year, once again, they had over 100 candidates. They accepted 30, and I was selected.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So beginning in August, it's one Friday each month. We'll travel to Lansing for the classes. That runs through December. No charge for the program, so.
Very good work. Congratulations, Rhonda.
Congratulations.
Did we have a motion to approve the check run?
That was part of the motion.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Bruce. Brett, or I'm sorry, Chief, Public Safety?
You got me.
Oh, I forgot the committee. I'm sorry.
While the Finance Committee did not meet this month, some members of the Finance Committee were busy nonetheless. That's yours truly. A couple of things I want to point out to everyone. I asked Rhonda to put together, and this is hot off the press, the park renovations to date and how much we've collected and how much we spent, so that everyone can be apprised of that. We collected roughly 700, you don't even have this stuff. I have the only, I got it at 5:30 today. We collected roughly $790,000 in revenues. That is from the millage of, the 2 years of the millage of 530, the generous donation by the Improvement Foundation of $100,000, $60,000 donation by the anonymous donor. We also, through the auspices of the Finance Committee, to make up some of the shortfalls, we transferred funds from the Water and Sewer Department for the road work out here, the marina, some of the water lines that we had to relocate, and the major road fund for the cut-through over there. So we raised a total of $790,000 over the last basically 2 years. Expenditures to date are $750,000. We have remaining work to be done of roughly $35,000. So the end result is that we broke even in terms of our project costs. Congratulations to all of us for not going over budget. The point being that we've spent all the money that we have for park renovations. Any further renovations to the park have to go through the budgetary process at this point. That means that they emanate, whatever requests are created, go to the park committee. Park committee filters it into the annual budgeting process. The budget for the coming year is set. Through June 30th of next year, we've agreed and voted on a budget that has the monies allocated for all the projects and expenditures that we're planning on doing. So basically, anything we're looking at doing going forward would be in the next fiscal year. But requests must follow those lines of communication, and if they don't, we're going to be again in this position where we're expending money or doing things that we aren't budgeted for, that we have to amend the budget for, find the revenues, or get authorization. So, but we've spent roughly $800,000, which is over 10% of our, that's 14% of our annual budget on that park over there. The other item that we've been I asked Rhonda to look at was, we've had the gatehouse up and running now since Memorial Day. So I asked her to look at the month of June of 2018 versus 2019 in terms of ranger hours that we have expended over there to man the facility. I think, Ted, you said that we did not anticipate increasing our labor costs.
That's correct.
So for 2018 versus 2019, 2 pay periods, comparable timelines, no holidays, no 4th of July, extra staffing for none of that. Real comparable times. We increased our manpower hours by 382 hours, which is roughly 100 and some hours per week. The chief is manning the gatehouse 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is 112 hours. So if you look at it, we're spending over $5,000 a month to man that gatehouse.
Above and beyond what we did last year?
Correct. For that gatehouse. So we anticipated that we wouldn't spend any more money, but in reality we are. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's in addition, the gatehouse being staffed and the old gatehouse being staffed too.
That's
Is
the
that
increase
correct?
in
So the
man,
increase
yeah,
in-
it's the increase in total ranger hours for comparable periods, 2018 versus 2019. What they're doing over there, where they're located, is irrelevant. It's just the total what we're paying. And we're spending over $5,000 a month for that. So and it's not a question of whether it's right or wrong, I want people to be aware of the fact that that money is being spent by the village to staff that facility for that, and so it's costing us that much to do it. Whether we want to do that or not, it's a whole entire question. I'm not talking about that. I just want everyone to have the financial information in front of them to know what it's cost. Nothing is for free. Now, whether we can reduce hours in the future, I have no comment on that. That's the chief's purview in terms of doing that. Obviously, it's a learning curve going forward. But again, we have to be aware of what we're spending.
What do we budget?
We didn't budget anything.
I thought you guys put an extra 35,000 in for an additional gatehouse.
We don't have, we really did not budget for an extra person in those roles.
I know the chief was quoted as saying it was gonna be about $35,000 more for the
We never
season,
budgeted
for
for
the
that?
season.
We'll adjust for it. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you we're gonna, don't worry, that's why we make mid-year adjustments.
But I mean, when we were having budget conversations, we talked about this extensively, and then we didn't budget for it? Okay,
Not that much money.
okay.
Because of the representation, we were told that we weren't gonna increase the manpower. That's what Ted told us.
Well, we knew we were gonna.
We thought there might be a small increase. I didn't agree with the 35,000.
I can tell you this
know
much,
that.
I go to the park almost daily, and I mean, there's a record of that. And the parking lot is typically less than half full. I don't really understand what the extra need is for. I mean, we may be overscheduling is my point. Even on the weekends, if you come on Saturday and Sunday when it's peak time, there's always parking spots. And we had the splash party on Sunday, and I came right in the middle of it. I came before it at 11:30, and then I came in the middle of it at 2 o'clock, and I still found a parking spot. Okay, so I don't understand. I just think maybe we better take a serious look at how we're staffing these, because I think that nothing has really changed from a year ago, in that we obviously have a lot less people using our parking lot, because last year when I used to go to the park, I always had to park across the street if I didn't get to the park early. And now the parking lot's half full. So the people that were parking and then going for walks on Lakeshore Drive or whatever they were doing aren't using that parking lot anymore, which means the rangers aren't being asked to do more than they were doing before. So if we got one guy who's checking passes and one guy who's unloading cars, nothing's changed. So I really think we gotta look at how we scheduled last year and try to create some parity. The other question I have is the $790,000 in revenue that we collected as a result of donations and a millage increase. Those all fell in last fiscal year, right? Along with those expenditures. So what's our budget for this current fiscal year?
Or
The new year that just started July 1st,
the budget for what?
for park maintenance.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I'd have to look at the budget.
Well, there's a budget for it, and we haven't even touched it because it's a new fiscal year. So this information you're giving us is relative to last fiscal year?
Yes.
Okay, I know that. All right.
So that's just to let you know how much money
I
we've spent.
understand. I just think it painted a different picture than what's going on.
And Bruce, you said that right now we've expended $750,000, and there's still $35,000 worth of work to do in the park. Can you be a little bit more specific as far as what that $35,000 is earmarked for at this time?
Driveway work on the entrance, payment to AEW, which is Anderson Eckstein, and fixing the door. It's not open the right way.
So that $35,000 is all to fix the
Finish it off. Finish the driveway.
door design of the
That's
guardhouse.
That's 1,500.
There was funds that were retained from the contract, so even though the services have been performed, I'm still waiting for the final bill
Okay.
on that. And then there will still be some engineering from AEW once they go through that bill and everything, make sure everything's kosher that way. And then there is still, a very small amount for some modifications that have to be made in the new gatehouse.
And that doesn't include all the work and the money that Helen raised with her group, because I think Helen probably contributed $6,000 or $7,000, probably total in terms of plants and all, for the entranceway and all that. That's not included in that. The whole point of that is to say, number one, we did a good job. We didn't go over budget, but we did spend a lot of money. It's a big project that we undertook.
I have a copy of the budget here. For repair maintenance for building and grounds for fiscal year 2019-2020, 75,000 for building and grounds, 10,000 for buildings, 20,000 for the pool.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, and it's generally pretty much in line with previous years of non-major projects at the park.
And then for a park director, we budgeted 50,000, and we won't be spending that.
And there's a slight increase in the gate guard line item. Because when we're putting together the budget, we knew there was going to be additional staffing, but not how many hours at that point.
Okay, so we've got close to $100,000 budgeted for this coming year for gate guards. And last year,
Gate guards?
yeah, it says wages, gate guards, 93,000.
For the
And
whole
last year's budget came in at 81,000. So we're 12,000 more in budgeting for that expense this year.
And some of that would be a cost of living adjustment, wouldn't it?
There
was a
increase.
slight wage
2.5%,
increase.
2.5%, so.
Now, don't forget, the building and ground maintenance items are for the entire complex.
Right.
Okay, and that includes, whatever they do here, fixing windows and everything else. My point being, if you have a project request at the park, and it's a legitimate request or it's an improvement, we just follow protocol to do that, and we'll find, if it's a worthwhile project and somebody says it's $4,000, park committee says that, we will do everything in our power to find 4,000, and I can guarantee you that, we'll find $4,000. Okay, we're not gonna sit here and go, oh no, you gotta have, there's enough room in these numbers to move around to do that. But the point being that we've gotta have a handle on where the monies go and who's spending them, so we can keep track of it. That's all we're asking everybody to be aware of, is in terms of doing that.
Well, from what I'm gleaning here is that so far, we've been very responsible as to staying within
Absolutely.
what we brought in revenue and not exceeded it. And we had a surplus from what we purchased, what we brought in revenue for the park improvements. So we were $40,000 under what we had received
No,
in.
we're not 40, we're
Well,
maybe,
according to your numbers, we had 790 come in and we put out 750, and you said
and
we
we
have,
still have 33 to spend.
right, this fiscal year.
That's committed already, spent, those are invoices we haven't paid yet.
So we're still $5,000 to the good. So bottom line is I appreciate, the fact that you're saying let's be prudent, but at the same time, I think that the proof's in the pudding that we have them.
And I'm not saying we haven't.
Okay.
The point is that we're on budget and we managed to do this correctly.
Right.
So it's a compliment to all of us that we've done that.
There was one other thing you brought up, this anonymous donor. You told us that we were going to know by the end of the year last year. Are you still going to make?
Yeah, Mark said that we were gonna do that in September. I mean, I don't know if they need to be here to recognize,
I think they prefer that too.
would they? Okay, because at one time we were gonna have them come, I think even in
I'll check that.
September.
I mean, the truth is if they would like to remain anonymous, let's respect that.
Okay, but let us know, Mark, because Doug raises a good point. Yeah. Thanks, Rhonda, and thanks, Bruce, you're right. I mean, we've been good stewards of the money. We made some earlier, arguably some spending decisions to see if we should move the tennis courts. And now with the high water levels, that turns to be a great decision not to move it. Because right now, that area, we have sandbags. So that was a wise thing, and we probably spent too much money on architects and engineering to see whether or not the soil with the new geothermal barrier could support 4 tennis courts closer to the Grossmont Yacht Club wall. So now I look at it, I go, well, Mother Nature solved that problem for us. So, all right, thanks, Chief.
Just to follow up on some of the comments that were made before, just for some clarification. As Bruce had indicated, this is a work in progress here. We're still finding our way with the responsibilities that's shared by the 2 rangers that are on duty. I fully anticipate that we can be more efficient next year, certainly with the addition of Allison. We're going to look at if we man only the outside gate and we get some support from the interior of the park, then perhaps that we're going to be able to cut these out. The other thing that you need to keep in mind is that this is only May, June, July, and August. So there's only 3 months where we have an elevated personnel cost. But yes, I had several new rangers some of them are still kind of in training, sort of. So I anticipate this being dynamic and that we can work on this next year as far as efficiency goes. So if you have any other questions, I'll answer them for you. I just,
Well, if it's 3 peak months of June, July, August, and it's $5,000 more, then that's $15,000 more that, I didn't anticipate. And so maybe if that can be tweaked in terms of the scheduling and staffing, then that would be for the good.
the other thing is that the interior person keeps an eye on the picnic area, assists the picnickers, keeps an eye on the marina area, sells ice, assists with goes into the pool area once in a while, looks at the restrooms once in a while. So there are slack periods, certainly, but there are things that he or she does inside the park that, and we were trying to, when we rolled this out, we wanted to make the best impression that we possibly could with, for the residents, so.
Chief, how often will you be looking at, like running the numbers, looking at the peak times and possibly tweaking the two rangers back to back?
After Labor Day,
Okay.
the park is really, there's a significant decline in the number of.
So you're not going to make any changes to your schedule until next year? Is that what you're saying?
Well, now
You're
that-
not going to do this month to month?
Now that we're halfway through, I'll sit down with Allison and we'll look at it and see
Okay.
if some of those responsibilities could be handled by personnel inside the park.
Okay.
We're always looking at it, basically.
Okay.
It's all kind of new to us right now, so that's why we are where we are.
Also, I just have a comment. I know, Allison, you don't have an office at the park. Am I correct that you're in the pool area? What about that second gatehouse, making that your office? And that way, is that too bothersome? I don't know. I'm just kind of trying to find her an office over there, and it seems like that would be like right in the forefront of everything. But then again, you might not get anything done while everybody's walking by you. But
I would hate to
Is
place
that
those
it?
responsibilities on her.
Okay.
Because she may have other duties. I'm sure she
Okay.
does during the day, so.
I'm just trying to find the poor girl an office.
Keep it like that.
With air conditioning.
Chief, on the observation I've made about the traffic levels in the park, would you agree with what I said?
I drove by the park. We walked by it Saturday and Sunday, and I say the park was at most half full on both days.
What do your numbers say? What are the numbers?
We haven't generated them yet. I will get those numbers to you
And during the week, wouldn't you agree it's very light?
significantly more so. Yes.
Okay. So maybe on the weekdays, we don't have 2 people because they're not throwing these enormous picnics and events. And unless there's one on the books, why schedule someone?
That's perfectly correct, and I just want to make sure that we don't let the other services that we provide from the inside gate personnel to lax. We drive seniors.
I understand what you're trying to achieve, and the fact that we put $12,000 extra into the gatehouse guard budget, and we've only really gone into it by $5,000. I just think if keep our eye on the ball, we can stay within budget and not compromise services.
We'll certainly look at it.
Thank you. Oh, I have one last question. We had talked a couple of months back when we were going to put cameras in the park, that we would look into the possibility that there could be a monitor in both of the gatehouses so that when the guys have downtime, at least on the monitor in front of them, they can see what's going on in all the camera zones.
I can inquire with IT Right as to cameras were suggested for the interior of the park. They will have to be part of a supplemental network. We're told that we've expanded that network now with the cameras, with the internet access we have to those gate offices, that we're going to need to make some modifications to the network. So certainly it's possible, I think. It's not we're recording the data. It's not exactly necessary in real time.
The reason for my question is this, is that if we had a camera on the harbor from where the flagpole is, the other night there was a very serious situation that occurred with a boat that basically was being hammered into the seawall as a result of the high seas and winds, and they didn't have a captain on board the boat. No one even knew how to start the boat. And there were about 15 people between the 2 boats that were in this accident. And I just thought, like, here it is, it's nighttime. If the gatehouse guard would have had a monitor and he would have seen something bizarre going on in that monitor, he could have dialed 911 right then. My wife ended up dialing 911, calling the Coast Guard, calling the yacht club, harbor master. The response time was about as good as it could be in that situation, but in those situations, minutes seem like weeks, you know? And I just thought, if we're already like doing this, what would it take to just have the feed on a monitor in the gatehouse?
I can certainly have,
You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Those cameras are not, you may have seen commotion on the dock. They did abandon ship on that boat, and that
I know, I was
that
there.
was the reason that it was slamming into the Mark One. As
Well,
well as we have some damage to that.
The truth is that they didn't abandon the ship. We removed them from the boat
Yeah.
because the boat was going to sink.
We can certainly get a price on it and
Okay.
see from there.
I guess before you get started, Chief, it was brought to my attention that there was a theft in the park over either the winter or early the spring of the starter for the swim team.
It was reported to me, I think before Memorial Day, that where it was stored in the pool office, in spring it was found to be missing.
Okay.
And we did have a report on it. We did investigate. I think I spoke with Kay Drake several times about that, and she inquired whether one of the other communities had borrowed the unit, and it was not recovered.
So we have no information on that?
Currently, it's an open investigation, but there are many people with access to that building, but I do, currently we do not know what's going on. As more and more identity thefts are reported, one case that we recently investigated is somewhat interesting. On June 3rd, a complaint was received from one of our residents having his identity stolen. He learned the crime after receiving a vehicle title in the mail from an Ohio car dealership. It was discovered that a car was purchased using a fraudulent driver's license containing the victim's information. In addition to the vehicle, several other fraudulent accounts were established or attempted to be established. An investigation led to the arrest of a suspect, a parolee out of Detroit. It's unknown how he got the information. However, several weeks ago, he pleaded guilty to a 5-year felony for ID theft. So, just as another caution to our residents, phone solicitation of personal data is on the rise. Residents are reminded not to share any personal identification, any personal information about your family, children, certainly not bank accounts, social security numbers. And one additional thing, that the IRS does not make any inquiries over the phone. Everything is done through the U.S. mail. So if they have any questions, I know I received a call from Gloria this past week. She got a call from, and our cell phones ring constantly. I'm sure you get them the way we do. So just a word of caution, not to part. When they want you to part with information, personal information, it's when you hang up the phone. So, as we've discussed, the park operations are going fairly well. We've had some minor issues that we've tried to address. I did mention last month that after 29 years of service with the Department of Public Safety, Lieutenant Bill Nicholson is retiring his position. Bill's last day is Friday, July 26th. On behalf of the entire department, we wish him and his family all the best.
Will there be a send-off for Bill?
He requested no. We offered to put a party together for him, and he declined, and so we honored his wishes. And but I've known Bill for as long as he's been here, and our kids went to school together, and so he's a great friend, and he's going to be a lot of training that he had over the years goes out the door with him. So we continually trying to build. With his retirement, I am processing a new public safety recruit. His name is Jeffrey Roybal. He is currently a firefighter paramedic with Detroit Fire Department. He served 8 years in the U.S. Army Reserve with 2 deployments in the Middle East. Jeffrey passed his physical background, and his psychological evaluation was this past Monday, so we're hoping he will be starting in the August 12th Macomb Police Academy, and he'll be there for 17 weeks.
Will you be promoting someone to Bill's
We will-
vacancy? How is that
We
going to
plan
work?
on, before the end of the year, having an exam for sergeant and lieutenant. Again, this year, Grosse Pointe Shores will be assisting the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club with the 2019 Optimist National Regatta from July 19 through 28. I met with a past Commodore on Friday, and because of the wet ground, they will not be storing any trailers in our park. They're going to be taking them to Grosse Pointe North, and they'll be shuttling them back and forth to transport the sailors. This past week, officers from Public Safety Department assisted the Ford House with their DSO event. They got 2 really nice nights, and our officers provided traffic and pedestrian support with the assistance of an employee from DPW. Grosse Pointe, all Grosse Pointe employees will be reimbursed by the Ford House for the overtime spent. The Mutt March has been rescheduled for Sunday, July 28th. We will again be assisting on this event as well. And just to note that the Public Safety Department takes great pride in assisting these 2 organizations, the Yacht Club and the Ford House, with their pedestrian and vehicle support. So we've maintained an excellent relationship with these 2 entities over the years. So that's all I have. If you have any questions.
Are there any questions of the chief?
Yeah, I have one. Number one, I have a comment too. First comment is, outstanding job on the 4th of July, Chief. Seriously, that was a lot of people. And it was seamless. There wasn't a raised voice. People were smiling. Things ran like a clock. I really appreciate everything you guys did. The only suggestion that I would say when we have our wrap-up meeting, and we're going to talk about stuff like this, but I think next year, if we have one public safety guy at the gate, because when cars were coming in and pedestrians were coming through the gate, a lot of them just blew by the gatehouse guy, and he had to call him back. And I think if a public safety officer were there, he'd say, you got to go check your pass.
The interior or the exterior gate?
The old gate, that's used to be the entrance to the park.
We did have one assigned there, but he was circulating in the park as well.
Yeah, because as darkness fell upon that area, all of a sudden masses were on foot.
Yeah.
And it was a little overwhelming, and if you would have had just a little support there, I think it would have been a good thing.
We tried to saturate the park with bike officers.
It was great. I mean, honestly, it worked perfectly.
The good thing is there was no fish flies that night.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did work out well. It's,
And Chief, I think when I came there, they said there was 900 people that had already gone through. So I mean, a tremendous number. It was just well organized. But a great credit to you and your department.
well, thank you. I will put into your emails some numbers when we
Yeah.
talk about it at the after meeting.
Great.
Thank you.
I heard that it was over 2,000 of the gate. Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Chief.
Oh. Thanks again, Chief.
Brett, Public Works.
Good evening, everyone. Well, your Public Works staff has had quite a unique month with the water high and the lake levels high in Grosse Pointe Shores and the rest of the lake in Lake St. Clair. It's given us quite a number of challenges. I'm sure you've noticed the sandbags across the street at the park. They seem to be working well. However, we had quite a bit of water going underneath the sandbags, so we found it necessary to sink a couple shallow wells with some sump pumps. That's alleviated the problem, and the sidewalks are staying nice and dry. And, we're monitoring that daily, but seems like everything's working out well over there. You may have also noticed the pump on Lakeshore Road, just north of Ford's Curve. What we did over there is we had to install a plug in our storm sewer because the Milk River was actually backing up through the catch basins, flooding the roadway. And this made it necessary for us to pump those catch basins whenever it rained. Yesterday, the pump that was there caught fire, and we had to call the fire department. Shout out goes to the chief, but he's not here. We did not have to call second alarm. They were able to get the fire out right away. And we did end up replacing the pump. It's back in service and everything is working well. But again, a shout out goes to the fire department. They were there instantly, and it sure is nice to know when you call you got somebody on your back. So it was pretty good. The DPW has also spent a lot of time this past month getting ready for the 4th of July celebration. I must say it was a pleasure working with Allison, our new parks director. She's organized. She has a positive attitude. She's hands-on, and she's going to be a good fit for Grosse
Yeah,
Pointe
amen.
Shores. It's nice to work shoulder to shoulder with somebody and support goes both ways. I believe the 4th of July celebration went smoothly and was enjoyable to our residents, and I'm sure that'll be talked about a little bit later. We've also had some issues in our bathhouse. There's been a persistent, unpleasant odor that we've been unable to identify. We did call our cleaning supply company, and they sent out some representatives who gave us some special soaps and try this and that, to no avail. And yesterday, we were fortunate to meet with a gentleman named Tony from Triple F Cleaning Company. He is the custodian company that works for Grosse Pointe Farms and Grosse Pointe Woods, taking care of their bathhouse. So he was able to come out, take a look, and he was unable to identify the problem. I did. Weather?
Yeah, it's weather, no.
We have a storm coming. Okay. I did authorize him to have a plumber come in and identify what type of acid to use in our drainage system. I also gave him authorization to actually treat our drain system, our toilets and urinals. Apparently we have some calcium buildup. And with that, I also let him know that, or he let us know that we needed a good deep cleaning inside that bathhouse. So we authorized him to do that as well. And I think within the next day or two, or maybe week, we will have a recommendation on how we can maintain that facility and keep things nice and fresh. Allison will be doing the scheduling for that. We want to make sure it's done on a day that the bathhouse is low in traffic, and I believe we have a day that we pick. Okay, well, next Tuesday. And after that's done, he'll be monitoring that, and he'll give us a proposal on what it would take to actually maintain that during the swim season. At the last council meeting, I mentioned we had some punch list items for paving for Colonial Road and Belmead. I'm here to say we have recommendations on taking care of those items. So beginning Monday, the 22nd, ASI Paving Company will be coming to mill the roadway off and repave that street completely.
That's Colonial.
On Colonial, I'm sorry, on Colonial. We have some poor grade there, and there's just no way to fix it. It's got to be redone. The project will go very fast this time because the base is already done. We're not going to have to bulldoze everything, so it's just going to be mill everything off on Monday. This is the plan, weather permitting. Mill everything off on Monday, make preparations on Tuesday, and pave on Wednesday.
And who's paying for this?
They will be paying for it. This is warranty work, and again, this project was a DTE project to begin with. We have some engineering costs in there, but those are to be expected.
Letters have gone out to
Letters are
Colonial
made
Road
out to residents. I plan on passing those out Thursday or Friday.
Okay.
We have phone communication with people that call, but we're very active in keeping residents notified. And when we paved last time, we kept a scooter down there to bring residents groceries in and out, and we put a bike rack
Very
there.
nice.
And we'll be doing the same thing as we did last time. And also, we had some problems on Belmead. We have about 350 feet of pavement that does not meet our specifications. And if you remember when that street was paved, it was after Thanksgiving, I believe into December when we did it. The pavement was extremely cold, and they did not get compaction, and the pavement was actually separating in areas, which means it's turning into gravel in a couple areas. And what we have found through research, we had like 3 truckloads of asphalt that came when the temperature was below spec. And those 3 loads, that's where the problems are. So what the company's going to do is they're going to come back and mill about 350 feet of pavement, and then relay that pavement just in the areas that are bad. I think that'll provide us a good road when it's all done. And we do not have an exact start date on that project yet. I'm trying to work that in with some other work.
Do they give you a warranty on that?
Not really, but our warranty is we hold the check.
Yeah, but
And
is there an extended
you know,
warrant?
Like I mentioned, retainage earlier with across the street.
That's to meet their punch list, but do they have an warranty that says, because there's a danger that they're gonna relay this, that it's not gonna?
There are some Michigan laws that are requiring warranties on pavement. However, when you ask for those, are extremely expensive. So most pavement that goes down, if it stays a year or two, then you give them a check and say we're happy.
How long would you hold it? Have you paid all of meet?
Oh, no. We haven't taken it there as well.
How long do you plan on holding?
Usually 15%. It's, well, just across the street we're holding, what was it, $25,000 just for that
For how long?
piece of concrete. Well, until we feel that it's good. The engineers okay it.
So how long do you think you'd hold it?
Usually it's 3 to 6 months. In a case like this, well, you gotta remember, we paved last November and we still have the money.
So you're gonna hold them through the winter? Is that your expectation?
Probably not, no. No, we knew there was gonna be a problem when it went down because it was so cold.
But you think it's gonna be okay?
Yes. Once they make the repair, I think it'll be fine.
They say it'll be okay.
Okay.
Put it in writing.
And the engineers say it's okay.
Put it in writing.
Yes, sir. Okay, let's see, paving. Oh, as far as redoing these projects, you know, the patchwork on Belmead and the repaving on Colonial, I don't see any foreseen problems. These guys want to come in and get their work done, get their money and go home. So I would think they're going to be moving quite fast to get in and out job. As I mentioned about the work on Belmead, Mr. Wollenweber and I have had the opportunity to drive all the streets and identify some problem areas. And it's our intentions to do that again tomorrow. And when we come up with our areas that are actually going to need paving, what we'll do is we'll try to incorporate the repair work on Belmead with some other paving that we're doing, and hopefully we can save on mobilization on our new projects. So we'll be doing that tomorrow, and hopefully we can get some work moving pretty quick as far as our pavement restoration. Let's see. The generator installation on Crestwood is moving forward. Currently, the old generator has been removed. The foundation has been removed. The new concrete pad has been installed. We had to install a small wall around it because of some of the grade issues. The new generator has doors where the old generator had flip-off sides, so we had to make some adjustments there. That's all been done. The next step is we're going to have our electrician come in and bore a line between the lift station itself and the generator. We had to increase the number of raceways for the wire. When the old generator was installed, the code let you put low voltage and high voltage in the same pipe. So they don't do that anymore, so we have to put another line in. And as soon as that is installed, the DPW will be installing the I think I mentioned at the last meeting that the new generator is stored right next to the DPW. And if you've noticed the old generator sitting in front of the DPW, I must ask if anyone is interested in purchasing a used 1985 55 kW generator. Please place your bid on Mitten, the Michigan Intergovernmental Trade Network, where it was listed today. Yeah, and as always, I mentioned, if you see anything out there that needs attention, feel free to give me a call. Extra set of eyes are always helpful. And if you have any questions, I can try to answer them at this time.
Are there any questions?
No, just on your drive-by tomorrow, Regal Place, the sewer's falling in.
Yes,
Okay.
catch basin. You're on the list.
Thank you.
Brett, the job you did on Woodland Shore was great with the approach. One of the neighbors asked about Weber. You may want to take a look at Weber.
We have some markings on Weber as well.
For the approach, the same type of situation, I
Oh,
think.
we got a couple big bumps on Weber up, I believe they're right around 90, right in there with some offset joints, probably 2 or 3 inches. As far as the approach, I don't know if we've looked at that, but we might take a look at.
One of the residents on the first house called me about that. And then
Usually that's what happens. My phone's been ringing too. I see you did one, how come you're not gonna do mine?
well, he was visiting his relative on Woodland Shore, and he said, wow, wow, wow. And then he says, what about my street? And
That's
then,
usually the way it works.
in the park, are we gonna put stops? I know we were talking about ordering fiberglass stops for the
I'm
cars.
sorry. There are stops in at the park.
Oh, was that just installed?
We did not order fiberglass because the fiberglass ones are 6 to 7 feet long, and the gap between the blocks where it was big enough where you could get a car in. So
Oh.
we put concrete blocks just on the south side of the park.
Okay, just,
We tried not going with any at all. I think it looks real good, but that particular line, we had to put some,
is it because of the drop off?
yes.
Oh, 2 cars went over.
Yeah, we had a couple cars
Yeah,
go
I
off.
saw
and,
that mud.
we figured we might,
At least the lake's not there.
yeah, exactly.
All right,
I'm
thanks.
sorry, I did forget to
Good work,
mention that.
Brett.
Brett, I just wanted to say great job with everything you did for the 4th of July on the setup. It was really incredible what you guys did. Bruce was amazing too, and I
Yeah.
just wanted to compliment you on everything you guys did to help
Yeah, it was
all
a
of
good
that
team
setup
effort.
and breakdown take place.
Yeah,
When I
it's nice.
went by the next morning, and it was like it never happened.
Yep.
It was unbelievable. Thank you. And the sump pumps, brilliant idea. The yacht club ended up stealing it from you.
Oh, are they really? Well, that's good. I will pass on kudos to the team and
Thank you.
let them know that their work is greatly appreciated.
Great job, Brett. Park Committee, Joe?
Thank you, Brett. It was like Christmas came early on my street. I figured some little elves came out and spray painted on the street. I literally jumped for joy because our street is deteriorating in Valentine, and there's some areas that are just have been bad for many, many years. And I've been there 13. So out of 13, I'm 13 for 13 years that road's been bad. So it'll be nice to maybe see. I'll continue to wish. I'd like to say a few words before I speak. I got involved in this committee about 6 years ago. I'm trying to remember. I honestly can't remember. It was about 6 years ago. I was asked to.
I begged you.
Yeah, you begged me, and I did spend a lot of time thinking about it because I knew the park was getting ready to undergo a lot of challenges, a lot of changes. And I will tell you, I was over there the other day looking at some things, and I just walked around the park, and in kind of an amazement, I was blown away by how much has been done. And you know, we do get caught up in the weeds and the trees and the forest of all the things that are wrong with what happened or whatever, but in the end, the park looks fantastic. And I will tell you, when I came in 6 years ago, with all of you, I mean, so many of you, Bob and Doug and everybody participated even the residents here participated in our committee, and it really has come a long way. And it was exciting to see it because, you know, when you volunteer on a committee and it's government related, there's no line at the door to get involved because things don't get done. And I feel, and I'd like to say, I think the state of our park is strong. And I feel really happy to be a part of the committee. And thank you for giving me the opportunity and to participate with so many caring people on the committee. Because everybody really does care, and it's exciting. It's not usually that way. There's always just a couple that really participate. But in this case, everybody has. For 6 years, it's been a great experience. So I'm glad to be a part of it. So thank you. So in having said that, I've had a few, so many things have changed, and it looks so great. And there's a couple areas that you want to close your eyes when you do walk in on. And I wanted to bring it to shed some light on this. And this is nothing new, by the way. This is a thing that we've been dealing with the locker rooms and the bathrooms, and there's some areas in there that are just not as nice as they could be. So there's been some ideas rolled around about how we might be able to improve some things to make things a little bit better. So there's two areas in particular. One being the tile, hence some of the cleaning that's going to be done. A lot of that smell, I am a mitigator, and I probably can tell you where that smell is coming from because we deal with this on a regular basis, and I have some ideas I'd like to share with you that might help to alleviate. It's bacteria. Bacteria is causing that smell. It's growing in the grout, and the bacteria needs to be mitigated. And, you know, part of it will be cleaning it. There are products out there. There's a ClO2, which is chlorine dioxide, that I can offer some assistance on that. It's something that it's been around forever, and it's used in our pools. And believe it or not, it'll wipe out the bacteria in that grout and will help to alleviate some of that smell. So I'm going to share some little things that we have within our company that can help out with that. But secondly, the other issue that we're having is the tile. The tile is, in some areas, not allowing water to drain properly. The tile also causes, when it's wet, people slip. I don't know if any of you've been in there and you've had, you have the wrong shoes on, you might find yourself meeting the floor. It's happened to me, it's happened to a lot of residents over the years. I notice a lot of moms throwing towels down for their kids just to stand on because they're kind of grossed out by the floor. Not uncommon. Happens in a lot of commercial environments and a lot of public pools and a lot of areas. There are ways to solve some of these issues. There are ways to, inexpensive ways. You don't have to rip all that tile out to make it a successful fix, and we do have some opportunities for that. One is there is a great opportunity to install a rubber floor that is in essence a mat. And I know Matt Seeley has a sample. We got a sample of it. That sample, something like this is down in many commercial environments. It's also in the DAC. If any of you have had an opportunity to go down there, it's in the locker rooms. It's a great surface to apply over the top of the tile. That will allow water to drain through, so you're not actually standing in puddles, and allows the water to drain, drop through it and then drain underneath, and allows the top to stay a little drier, allows for non-slip surfaces. It cleans, it doesn't stain, and it is an antimicrobial. It's made with an antimicrobial, so in essence, bacteria won't grow on it. So it's not a product that allows for that to happen. So this is something that we've been looked into as an idea. It can be installed by DPW, it can be picked up by DPW, and it can be cleaned often. Any way you can power wash with it down on the floor, and it allows for that non-slip, which is really something where tile would cost upward near $40,000 to remove and replace in both those, in the bathrooms and in the locker rooms, not to mention having to take up all of the partitions. There's a lot of expense involved in that. This is something that goes down right around it. So it's it's an option, and I know Bruce talked about going through the process, and I will tell you that as a committee, this is a low-hanging fruit thing. That's something we'd like to look at and see how we can make something like this happen within our locker room. Ceilings look a little rough. They are outdated. They look really rough. They're very commercial looking, not very attractive in a beautiful park that we have. And there's also inexpensive ways to improve what we have without spending a whole bunch of money. We can apply a popcorn ceiling finish on the entire ceiling to kind of take that commercial look out and just soften it up a little bit, make it look a little bit nicer, even it out. It's another way we can do it economically. There's also been some question about the shower heads. They said the shower heads are really rough. They're outdated. How can I say this? They're very hard on your skin. When the water's coming out, they're very hard. This is a low-hanging fruit thing that can be done very inexpensively. DPW, unscrew it and put a new one on. It's really not, and they're not expensive to do that. Yes.
When we were talking about that, I mentioned this last week. It'd be nice to either, if they all couldn't be the handheld, maybe a couple, for mothers of young children. When you're bringing your children in and they're washing them down or rinsing them off, to have that handheld for the little ones so that they're not lifting them. That makes me nervous when it's slippery.
They'll probably be the most used ones.
Okay.
Truly, people love the handheld.
Yeah.
Now, they come in two forms. One, you can have it hooked right up on top and use that as or a pole could be mounted on the wall, and you can use it as two. You can have a shower head and a handheld.
Well, I think the
really
cost savings is,
Cost is,
the one that's a fix is at the top. I think would
Yeah.
suffice for the
Yeah,
3
and
months
these
that
are
we're using it.
all,
But just kind of an idea for the moms of young children.
Yeah, and 20 years ago, those products were a lot more expensive. Today, they're manufactured at really great prices, and they last, and they're good. And it's an easy, low-hanging fruit thing, and I get a lot of complaints about it. People know that I'm involved in the park committee. They bring these to us, and they talk to us about these things. So this has been communicated with our committee to look at possibly getting your support to help us maybe put down that rubber floor over the top of these floors, and also take a look at the ceiling, improve the look of the ceiling and the shower heads. it's something that can be done, it really depends. I mean, I've listened to you as to how the budget works. That's your job. Mine is to make sure I can bring the support and say this is something the committee would like to see happen. And if it's something that can be done this year, great. If not, it gets done at some point in time. But the reality is, it's something I think our residents would really enjoy, and I think they've been asking for it for some time. So,
What is the cost? What is your estimation of cost for this?
just without actually putting dollars to it, I'm anticipating no more than 15,000, but likely using that as our threshold.
Does that include the 2 restrooms on the outside of the locker rooms as well?
I believe it does. Yeah.
And that's the floor and the ceiling and the shower
Floor,
heads?
ceiling, and the shower heads.
Has your committee approved this?
The committee is offering its support towards back to the that
We
they
have
would
a
like to
meeting
support
on
it.
August 20th.
Yeah, there's a
where
meeting
we'll
on
discuss this further and we'll
Okay.
take it from there.
Joe, have you talked to everybody on your committee?
Yeah.
And they all have supported going forward with
We've all
this?
supported it. Yes.
Okay.
Well, Joe, I've spent a lot of time at the park the last 2 weeks with the 4th of July and then our community splash party, and you know, I feel the same way as you do. The park looks terrific. I mean, it's
really
just, and then you walk into the restroom and then it's, we've doctored it up, or we've touched upon the outside restrooms. We have, is that a quartz surface, Mark, or, so that was replaced 2 years ago, and then,
The stalls were.
the lights, I
well.
think some of the lights were really inferior fluorescent lights or something. So that, but I agree with you, that's a real need, and obviously people going in there. Some of the moms said they won't allow their daughters to take showers in the locker room, so, because it's just, to them, it's not very safe.
I will tell you, when I was younger, you didn't you didn't think about walking on tile and that there might be some level of bacteria. I think people are more sensitive to it now. You know, they're like, don't touch it. And if you go in there, you'll see people got towels on the floor, they're lining the whole shower, and I'm like, they were just doing this the other day. I was just in there again to look at the tile and the ceiling, and I noticed it. I go, yep, they're still doing it, because they perceive it to be unsanitary. So, but these rubber mats allow for the water to drain through, and you're not stepping in puddles where people just showered. And, you know, it's a psychological thing, but it also is a physical difference to the restroom floor.
I know at the DAC, they remove that every day, I think, or every night, and then they clean the underlying title. How often would that have to be done there?
I don't feel like it needs. I think that's a little excessive. I don't think it's necessary. But you know, depending, you could literally hose it down because it drains underneath. It's designed for water to drain right through it, so it doesn't need to be pulled up. Now, kitchens, commercial kitchens where they use these, yes, they pull them up because of the grease and the food, and they don't want that to become an issue. But this is designed where water can be sprayed on it, and the water drains underneath it. So they clean it now. I'm sure they go in, and I think I've seen people squeegeeing all the puddles in there, you know. So, but this would be a little bit different.
Some member of the swim team thought we had mold in the locker room. Do you think that's a possibility?
You know, mold is everywhere, and I'm a mitigator, so I can speak. I can speak on this. Mold is in the air. It's in this room. You can't see it, but it's in here. It's the different levels of mold that impact your ability to deal with it. So the higher levels of spore count, when you start to, your lungs you'll start to feel it in your nose. You can feel it in the back of your throat. It itches. So mold is everywhere. So I don't use the word mold unless I actually have an industrial hygienist do a test and tell me what is it, aspergillus, you know, penicillium aspergillus, whatever it might be. But it's a bacteria. Bacteria is everywhere. So yes, when water sits stagnant, it allows the environment for bacteria to grow. When it stays moist for a period of days, hence the smell we have, that's what causes that smell. It's when things stay wet and it doesn't dry. So air movement's also important for that restroom, to have some air movement in there. And I was going to talk to you a little bit about that maybe there's some fans that...
We have portable fans in there now.
See, you need the fan, you need the air movement to move that air in order for the water to dissipate and dry. Yes.
You talk about the standing water. You talk about currently the floor right now. The pitch is not always correct, allowing this water to drain. How would that differ if you put this rubber mat down, it's not gonna change the pitch of the floor, therefore, aren't we gonna have the water sitting underneath?
Yes, but they're gonna be, ideally, they're gonna be cleaning this at night.
How
They're gonna
often
be-
do they clean that, Allison? Do you know how often
Do they
those
have a
floors
hose? I
get
mean,
cleaned?
really, all you need is a hose to spray it down.
The only area where they have the pitch issue is in the shower of the women's locker room. And this product is, it's like a floor mat. You can just flip it over. They can dry mop the floors to make sure there's no water on them after they're washed.
I think we
And-
need to make sure that these floors are getting washed. Is
They
that
are.
your department?
No,
No,
they
that's
get
not your
washed daily.
department. She just said she didn't think so.
We don't mop them daily? No?
I'm gonna,
That's an
like I
issue.
said, I have a product
does
that we
this? Who's in
use
charge?
every day in our company. And it's a product that is totally organic. It's safe to use. I use it all the time. And I would like to share with them what we use in our environments when I deal with water losses, because you know we're an insurance restoration company, so we deal with water and sewage all the time. So we know how to deal with water. There is a way to neutralize that floor. It's just spraying this product on at night and just letting it neutralize whatever bacteria might be in the floor. And even if it stays a little moist, it's going to neutralize it, basically kill it.
Okay.
And I'll go over it's called a kill sheet, what it does kill from all the different levels of mold, all the different levels of bacteria, MRSA, some of the highest levels of bacteria that would be an issue in anywhere you go when there's a public,
Particularly with people that have compromised immune systems
Yes.
or.
yeah, and they get sprayed on everything, the sinks, the countertops, the night, because we use it everywhere.
I was asked by a couple members of the Improvement Foundation as well as the Park Committee to discuss it tonight, so, and you're giving us a good discussion. I don't know the remedy, I don't know, I'd like it to be addressed. Maybe Allison, you could come forward and tell us what you know about the cleaning process? Because I don't know what it is. I think Kay Drake would probably be more familiar, but Joe brings up a good point, or, you know, it should be hosed down every night.
I've only been here for about 3 weeks now, and the bathrooms are my biggest point of contention. I was able to go with Brett and Tony. His name is Tony. He is a professional cleaner and has people that clean at the Woods Park and at the Shores Park, or excuse me, at the Farms Park. And they have porters that actually clean every day and every night. And they clean, and their responsibility is to clean with bleach and disinfectant and to do these types of things. You asked me if the lifeguards do this on a regular basis. The lifeguards clean. They have a checklist in which they clean daily in the evening, and then they are to pick up as here and there. I will tell you this, our staff of lifeguards are the best lifeguards around. These are wonderful 16 through 18, 20-year-olds lifeguards. They are not cleaners, and they are doing the best job that they can. I do not believe, from my personal perspective, I think Kay Drake is the best to speak on this. That's the person we need to ask in terms of the checklist. What is the checklist? Is it being done every day? Is this something that the pool managers and pool supervisors are adhering to and making sure that that is followed through, that checklist? We went through, it needs work. The lifeguards, if that is their duty, it needs to be done on a regular basis. This is the highest part of the season. So to speak on the level, are the floors being mopped every night? No, they are not. Do they need to be? Yes, absolutely. I'll be the first one to say that, and I stand by that, and it's the truth.
Thank
they
you,
need to be
Allison.
cleaned. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, can we
One
get a
other
letter to
question.
Kay Drake
One
and
other
ask him
question,
questions about this? This is not acceptable.
I know you've talked to a lot of people about the conditions of the floors and the ceilings. what have you been hearing from the residents, and what's the priority?
Absolutely. First and foremost, and we've been trying the best that we know how to clean the smell. There is some type of obvious smell, and after the 4th of July, it was very profound. And we've been trying to find where the location is. Brett has worked arduously. Kay and the staff has worked arduously to try to find the spot. Bob, Fred, everyone has. We then sought the opinion of the cleaner, the professional cleaner, who Mark and Brett both have a outstanding relationship with. I will say that deep clean, because of the relationship with Mark and Brett, is of no cost to us. It's over $800, and that is free to us because of the relationship with such awesome people that we have. But aside from that, that is going to be the first step. That was the first step, is to really do an adequate clean. And then the next step, and this is what we're in the process of doing, is really deciding what it will take to maintain that level of expectation of clean. Because right now we are not meeting that standard. And what we need to do is assess what it's going to take to get to that point. And right now, the main point of contention is the bathroom, and we need a deep, thorough clean. And then we need to maintain it to that level of expectation, because that's what our residents need, and that's what our residents deserve.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you, Allison.
In fact, I was a resident who came up to me Sunday, gave me the name here, I don't know if he's here, Dave Solomon, 5'8", gave me his number, and that he is an expert in tile and could do a deep cleaning.
He does not.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Ted, the other day I was at the Improvement Foundation meeting. Dan Fleming, Vice President of the foundation, brought these items up, and they have agreed to also take a look at maybe being able to help us out with the cost of this. They're going to do some investigating, and they wanted really the city to respond and see what we wanted to do, because they consider this a maintenance item, not a new improvement. But all that said, I would like to move that we spend no more than $15,000 on flooring and ceiling improvements and new shower heads in all of the locker rooms and in the 2 public restrooms. And that way the funding is there so that we can respond to this and not kick the can down the road for another month or until the park closes. So I have a motion on the floor. I don't know if I can get a second.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? I know that,
We have 100,000 for maintenance.
is that what you'd recommend, Joe? That surface, that the council now is just seeing?
Well, I have 2 recommendations. One is making sure that the floor is properly disinfected
Which is
before
happening.
the product. So that definitely needs to be done. And then I want to also talk to you about this products that they're using to disinfect it, because I might have something that they don't have. That it's really extraordinary. And secondly, yes, I do believe that is something that I would like if I had to put this in. So yes, I think I'm recommending this as an option, definitely. And by the way, this product can be, it's online. There's a lot of information about it, so it has all the specs about the product itself.
Well, just as a practical matter, if we were to, today's July 16th, or I have the right date, it's July 16th. If we ordered it tomorrow, how soon would it be delivered? And then it has to be cut, right? It has to.
No, it comes in 12. I think is it 12 by 12?
Yeah, I can answer because I've been talking to the Rubbermaid company about this. The shipping's free. It's $3 a square foot. All of the bathrooms and locker rooms are about 2,000 square feet. So you're looking at $6,000 if we were to do all of the areas. We may just want to try it out in the shower areas first, see how it works, see how it cleans. So we can buy it piecemeal. The price doesn't change whether we buy all of it at once or just part of it. So we can your committee and Allison can figure out what you want to do with that. But the other thing is that it cuts very easy with like a razor knife, so that when you get around toilets or the partition stanchions, you just cut around it. It snaps into itself in sections, and like you say, it says right on it. It says it's antibacterial, antifungal, mold and mildew resistant, odor-free and stain resistant. It's reusable, so if, you know, out of the blue, you know, we won the lotto and decided to build a brand new bathhouse, we can reuse this. It doesn't go down with the building, we can take it up.
Can we do this in stages, Joe? I mean, I hear the women's locker room is where I'm hearing all the complaints.
But the one thing is that from the painting standpoint, the two guys I've talked to so far, if they're gonna do the ceilings and spray like the stucco on the ceiling or do that rubberized paint that is water resistant, first they'd have to get rid of all the blemishes and then it'll all look uniform and nice and clean and bright. That part of the project would be done all at once to get the best price.
We're having a meeting on the 20th and plan to discuss this.
Doug, I'm not suggesting that we make decisions tonight on how you do it. That's up to you guys. I just wanna free up the money. I wanna free up the money so that we don't have to wait. That's all. Because I think that we owe it to the residents to make it so that if they have a family reunion or if they have a small child and they wanna go shower off in the locker room, that they can't do it because it's not
Well, I think, you
clean.
know, what we'd like to do is discuss it more, because, I mean, we didn't sit on the telephone and talk for an hour and a half to each individual in the park committee. We made some high-end, hey, we'd like to do this, we're thinking doing this kind
I'm
of
just
thing.
asking
So
you
when
to
we sit
free
down
up
at our
the money,
meeting
Doug.
on our 20th, and we can go over these things a little bit more with Allison, who's been invited, with Brett, who's been invited, and get them people all together to talk about it, you know, and then, like, you know, the finance guy said, come back to the council and say, here's what we think we want, and, you know, potentially then how much it's gonna cost.
Basically, all I'm saying is let's spend no more than 15,000 and let's agree to give them that.
What if I wanna spend 20?
Well, then you gotta come back. I mean, the reality of it is our estimation,
Okay.
based on the estimation we have, Doug, I mean, I've done a lot of footwork on
Yeah,
this.
so
and-
was he.
Yeah, and I know, and I've talked to you about it.
So
and-
what could happen is maybe we do something like the mayor mentioned, but maybe we do a portion of it, we do one of the showers. And we do that now, and then use it, and see how the process works with it. And if this is something that we get, you know, thumbs up from the residents, thumbs up on the whole process, it works,
I
then-
like that approach.
then you can do the whole
Go ahead, Bob.
entire thing, if you like the way it unfolds, right?
Bob's got some of these.
I was just gonna amend the motion a little bit to approve the motion, but to initiate the action following the park committee meeting. But that means you could order, this stuff is good stuff, that's you could order some of that stuff, and you can make plans, but go ahead and make the okay. But don't take any action until after your meeting next week or whatever.
It's August 20th?
20th August.
August 20th.
Not for another,
And a
it's over a
half. See,
month
that's
from
it.
now.
Mark, go ahead, Mark.
Will be closed.
I'm back.
Well, we talked about this last week on Thursday. I was interested. We met with some of the staff met with the cleaning company. They clean our buildings here as well as we clean the other. There's a couple of these projects that are certainly below the threshold and certainly within,
They're within your authority. If it's less than, man, here's the way you do this. You wanna do a test project, these guys come up and they bless us. If it's less than 10 grand, you go to the city manager.
yeah.
If it's
I
less than
did
10.
go to the city manager and he and Ted asked me to bring it up because they thought it would be good for the public to know that we're not asleep at the wheel, that we understand that the locker rooms look like hell and that the floors are disgusting and the ceilings look like a third world country and it's time to do something. Back in 2017, Mark presented us all with a budget to do all of this work. We ended up only doing the granite counters or the quartz counters, new sinks, new sink fixtures, mirrors, and partitions, and they look fabulous. We need to like finish the you know, let's take the ball over the goal line. And I'm just saying, you know, the painter's saying it's going to be $3,000 to $4,000 to do the ceilings. The floor, if we did everything, which we probably won't, would be $6,000. That's $9,000. I don't know what, you know, shower heads are going to cost. I'm just saying, instead of like going around everybody, which we very easily could have done with Mark's authority, we just said, hey, look, let's get the council to make a commitment that they're saying, hey, look, We want to do this for the residents. My motion is that we spend no more than 15,000. That doesn't mean they got to spend 15,000. I want to free up the money so that we don't have to wait till August 20th to come back, which would be, August 20th would be after the August meeting, which means we wouldn't do anything until the park closed. I'd like to see the residents be able to use the locker rooms now while the season's going. So I have a motion on the floor. It's been basically discussed to death, and I'd like to call the question.
It was seconded. Any further discussion?
I think it's premature. I mean, you can go ahead and do a lot of this without authorizing a nebulous number out there, and you can have it done by the time you come back and get a final approval on August 20th.
So if that's the case, why oppose it?
Because I don't like to authorize an amount for the sake of picking an amount out of the air.
I'm just trying to free up the money so that basically they can do the
You're
job.
trying to direct it. You're trying to go around the approved procedure, which is going through the committee, and then to the
Joe
budget
basically
committee,
said
and
that
then to the council.
his entire committee supports it.
What I'd like to see, and I agree with, that things need to be done. It's clear. This can has been kicked down the road quite a bit. So I'd like to see something done this season. Shower heads, easy. Maybe we do one bathroom. And listen, I'm looking at everybody and see if it works. I'm willing to do that. I'd like to see, maybe see
I
if
like
it
that
works. See if
approach,
it works
too.
for the cleaning people, if it works, if it actually does what it says it's going to do.
But by giving your committee basically and Allison a budget, you guys can do it piecemeal. You can do it however you want to do it, whatever's the best way to proceed. If Brett says, hey, listen, I think you guys should do X, Y, and Z, and you guys agree with that, why tie your hands? I'm just trying to make it so that we can do the work and we can do it expeditiously.
Call the vote, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, call the question.
Well, okay, and I guess my final comment, I do like something needs to be done. This problem didn't just arise this year or last year. It's been around for a while. And a couple years ago, then we did the countertop and the mirror and the fluorescent fixtures to update it. And it's still, it looks adequate, but that's not acceptable for our community. But the complaints I'm getting are from the women, the young moms, saying they don't want their daughters to take a shower. They come home after swim practice and they go home and take a shower.
Yeah.
And they're the ones in my ear, bending my ear.
As much as you do now to make that even better, they're still gonna want to take a shower.
Well, they got a whirlpool at home.
Yeah,
so
well,
they're-
you know, who takes a shower?
We don't have a
We
whirlpool
gotta
here.
move on. Let's move on.
You already have the motion. The thing
All
is
right.
that maybe we can put together a plan that allows us to implement and then evaluate on the 20th,
My-
right? And our production minute with our
I'd be in
team
favor
meeting.
of the dollars, but I'm still not sure of our remedy and whether it should be staged, as I indicate. The fact that the ladies' room to be done first.
Let's call a vote.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
No. You're gonna,
Well, and again, I think it's just because, we're unsure of the remedy.
Sure.
And the ceiling I know needs to be done. I'm not
Yeah.
sure I'm not sure how we address the ceiling.
That's what
Well, there's a few things, and now that gives us an opportunity to evaluate some pieces that we can put on the ceiling.
Well,
But I
Joe,
think-
thanks for your hard work.
Yeah,
I
no
mean,
problem. Okay.
Mark, I think we need to address the fundamental problem or question we have is who is responsible for the cleaning, the deep cleaning, the good cleaning, the everyday cleaning? How is that being enforced? I mean, Allison's saying that, lifeguards are doing this or that. I have been over there. I have cleaned a bathroom myself. It was so disgusting. I know everybody can't be everywhere, but we have to start making people accountable. My gosh, I'm so tired of everyone saying, well, it's their fault, it's their business, it's theirs, the chief, it's the, it's the park rangers, it's the lifeguards, it's this. It's like somebody has got to start minding the store here. We can't put this stuff down if the floors underneath are not going to be clean. And nobody seems to know who is the supervisor to make sure that these rooms are clean.
Well, the pool has been open for how many years? 40, 50 years. The lifeguards do the general maintenance. I will have Kay put together what their schedule is. It hasn't been acceptable, I understand that. We can take other, and Brett already mentioned that is authorize the cleaning people and working with Joe and making sure they're having the right product, and see what effect that has on it as well. And there is sufficient funds in terms of maintenance activities to do the sealing, we talked about that last week, that makes sense, in terms of what we're talking about.
You're saying you're cleaning people that clean this building, go over and clean the floors?
I didn't
Who,
say.
who are the cleaning people that you're talking
The
about?
lifeguards have
The
cleaned that.
16-year-old boys and that
And
probably
do we
don't
think
clean their
that's
own
now
homes?
based on the responsibilities of the principal, what haven't been acceptable?
We know
It
that
hasn't
for sure.
changed over
I've got
10
two
years.
nephews over there. I can tell you right now they don't clean.
Okay, so we've identified a problem. Let's come up with a plan that makes sense, that works for Allison. And if we come up, like you have a checklist, maybe part of that checklist is gonna be that they run a mop in the shower area from now on every night. And that we use a professional service, maybe bi-weekly, to go in and really do the deal. I don't know, but I don't know what the answer is. I'm just saying, go ahead, Allison. In the ground.
Thank you, Allison, and thank you, Joe. I mean, we know we have a problem, and we just have to figure out the appropriate remedy and the responsibility. So, thank you. Harbor Committee, Dr. Siegel?
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I will make this brief. That was a lengthy park, but some of the good things need to be done. Well, after 4 weeks since the last meeting, the park, as Brett stated, is looking really dry. It's the bags, the sump pumps have been a great help. You can walk through there now, and it's safe. There's not algae growing on the sidewalks. I was over at the little putt-putt area with the splash pad day and the shuffleboard courts, and that grass seems to be drying up. So the harbor's looking great. We only had, I think, about 6 empty wells at this point. Our compliance on dimensions is almost 100%. And I emailed Tom, and we're going to start to begin the renewal and the reassignments before September, so we have a great idea of what we have available for the residents, and then wait till after the first year to entertain the non-residents. And we'll see what the winter brings us. But the season's past half over.
Thank you, John. Are there any questions?
Not a question, but a comment. I just, again, want people to know what's happening in our city with nobody seemingly to know. 4th of July, we have a boat in a well. We have an empty well next to us. It has been empty all year long. July 4th morning, there is a boat in that well. It's got its lines all up on everything, and we said, oh, we have a new neighbor. Funny that it's taken him this long, but that's fine. Nobody's on that boat all day. Fireworks come, the evening comes, 50 people come and get on that boat, and they watch the fireworks and they do their business or whatever and leave. We had people on our boat. I paid no attention to it. The next day, my husband went to the boat to clean up. This person came on his boat. Marty said, welcome, neighbor. And he said, oh, I'm no neighbor. I just poached this spot last night.
How'd you get in the park?
I used to live in Grosse Pointe Shores. I live in Rochester now. We just use this for the fireworks. No idea. Marty, I wasn't there. If I was there, this would have been a different conversation.
We can go back on old lists of well renters, and
But to have somebody actually say it, I poached this well for the fireworks. I don't even live in Grosse Pointe. To me, you know, I thought something was fishy earlier that day that this brand new boat came in, but again, the lines were all equipped. He was running power to his boat. So I'm not going to kick somebody out of this well because I don't know if it's their well, and I'm not the police. But here we have people coming into our park from the water now.
There were 2 people who residents sponsored to bring boats in open well. Whether this was one of them, we'll check tomorrow.
Well, then we should know.
But if he left and came back via automobile, how'd he get through the gate?
No idea. No idea. But this is what's happening. They're coming in from the water now.
Well, it's something that, again.
Take that under advisement, how to take care of that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Bob, infrastructure?
Not much has been happening, waiting on Wayne County, but they were out marking the roadways yesterday and today. So hopefully they're gonna start getting ready to put the information together so we can all get a bid for the, from HRC? So that's where we stand for that. Other than that, we're good to go.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Improvement Foundation, Brett? Thanks for being so patient, Brett. I thought this would be a record meeting in terms of.
Good evening, everybody. A real quick update on the foundation. We had a meeting last week and we talked about a couple quick things. One is our grant writer Rob Squires is going to apply for another grant from DTE. It's a cost matching grant for our tree planting program. It's $150 each, so I take the edge off of that. Our membership is up. We have 4 people actually waiting to become a trustee. We have 43 active trustees with 3 or 4 on the books that want to join us. So we're doing well with that. The tot lot has been a big topic. Things are beginning to dry up. We're going to meet again with the contractor on August 1st and make a decision when to go. We certainly want to make a mess out of the park, so we're waiting for it to dry up, of course. We talked about the bathrooms also at the foundation meeting. Until definite direction is found, we will be quiet and wait for the final answer to come out, and then we can decide whether we're going to fund you or not, see what we're going to do with that. We did, however, agree to write a check to the swim team for a missing starter. So that's something we got accomplished that night, and we wrote them a check for $1,500. Other than that, we're doing well. Any questions for the foundation at all?
Any questions for Brett?
Thanks for everything.
Good?
Brett.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Brett. Legal report, Mark?
Yeah, Brian's report. Brian's in Lansing for a meeting with all of the companies. In general matters, he prepared comments on the dispatch lock agreement. It's in the hands of one or two items that they were currently looking at that should be on the agenda in August, along with the chief has taken photos. I've toured the lockup facility. We'll get you pictures and things like that of that. The mayor received, and the city did, the prayer breakfast and issues raised by an outside firm and sent to all the Grosse Points on the prayer breakfast. Brian's review after looking at them is going to supplement this. It's not, we don't need to respond to it. I think one or two of the cities separately responded. We've asked for a copy of those. We had a FOIA request for election records and responded properly to that with Brian's assistance. That is included in the monthly retainer amount. He talked to me about, I just updated them on grievance from the PSOs, which I think we sent to council the decision that was in the city's favor on that issue. And we also discussed the retiree health care issue based on the Wayne case. On Wayne County seawall issue, he's made a couple of requests for the item mentioned to us at our joint meeting with them, the 1928 agreement, which we still do not have, but I'll mention what we found in our records under my report shortly. He's reviewed material from that was prepared by HRT. He's asked for copies of the original agreement based in 1928, and that's pretty much it for him.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Now your report?
The first thing I'm going to tell you about is the seawall. Thanks to Tom's research, we found, I'm going to read a portion of it. This is from the December 5th, 1927 minutes of the village. And there's a bunch of stuff in it that says Wayne County Road Commission will, as a part of said improvement, without any expense to the village or to the undersigned, I'm not sure who the undersigned will, because it's some of the homeowners as well as the president pro tem of the village and the acting clerk, make the necessary fill and properly grade the same along the lakefront on the lands of the undersigned community, and will build an adequate concrete retaining wall on the easterly or lake side of said strip. And that went on to discuss retaining riparian rights and things like that. So after meeting, we thought we were going to get this from them. They proceeded, their engineer who was at the meeting asked us to take soil samples. Those were included in, after the engineers solicited proposals from 3 good soil sampling firms. There's a modification to that based on one of the submissions. Everybody replied with a number, and those were forwarded to Wayne County, and we're waiting to hear from them. Next month, the MML convention will be on the agenda. Usually the council picks a delegate and all kind of goes to it in Detroit this year at the end of September. I believe the mayor will talk more in detail about the mayor manager's meeting, we met with the mayor before, I think it was a positive meeting. There were a number of issues talked about where some of the Grosse Pointes have direct connection with Detroit across the border that they were willing to proceed with. Prudence's discussion about the libraries. The library network, which I happen to be the board chair of, provides a lot of our databases on a joint purchasing basis, along with the museum activity pass and a lot of things that our three branches here of the Grosse Pointe Public Library system take advantage of, including, this is an amazing thing, they can go to the library and sign up for museum passes or discounted tickets to go see the veterans as well. So the library's been able to do a whole bunch of stuff now that they didn't before. We're waiting shortly. I know Councilmember Ellis asked me about this. The associate to our labor attorney is reviewing over 1,000 pages of contracts that existed between bargaining units here based on some decision, the Macomb County decision. And we're also pretty close to being able to announce we're going to be switching carriers for prescription drugs for retirees, and that's a significant estimated savings to us. Making the grievance that's already got a couple more of those pending, and I don't know if it came up at 4th of July or not, because I didn't stay for the council to go forward, but we have users using the Wi-Fi that's installed at Pinnacle, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are any questions?
Yeah, Mark, I had a resident ask me this, and I didn't know the answer to the question. Do we do employee reviews?
Yes.
We do them annually?
Yes.
Are they available to see?
Yeah.
Okay. Does public safety do annual reviews?
I believe they do. I'm not sure at how far down it goes. I believe they do annual reviews. I know the chief reviews the lieutenants and the sergeants, and I believe he does for the regular officers, but I'll check it.
So is it safe to say that every employee at Grosse Pointe Shores gets an annual review?
Full-time employees, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I wouldn't say, the DPW workers,
Brett does his review. I do a review of
they don't do the
the
hourly.
top staff.
Okay.
You said everybody.
It's full-time.
But I mean, if the guy's, even if he's hourly, if he's a full-time guy and he's gonna ask for a raise, or you're gonna make an evaluation whether he gets one, don't you do a review?
Bargaining unit,
Okay.
so then they get a raise automatically.
Does the bargaining unit require us to do a review? Wouldn't that be like normal procedure?
No.
Huh.
Okay, any other questions of Mark? If not, new business, budgets and budgetary compliance policies, pages 22 to 23. Rhonda, this is something that you initiated.
Yes.
to-
This is, the policy that's in front of you is nothing different than what we have been doing for years. It's just something that, if you remember that report I prepared last year for the Governmental Finance Officers Association, this is just one thing that they would like to see in future editions of that report is the city's policies. And this was one major policy that really, since it deals with the budget, should be in that report. So I just used a template from the Michigan Government Finance Officers Association.
Okay.
Changed the name.
Seems like a good thing. Are there any other questions? If not, I need a motion to approve that compliance policy. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thanks, Rhonda. The Smart Pats municipal and community credit approval.
Yeah, we annually get from SMART, because we're a participant in both community credits and municipal credits. They generally go to the CAPS program.
There's a few other limited uses of those funds. This is pretty much an annual thing, but they identified the fund for us. They're asking council to approve the agreement with Smart that provides these funds in the past.
Okay. Is there support?
Support.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thanks. Public comment? Rich? Thanks for being patient.
Council, I'm here tonight to discuss some issues that our development company is having in preparation of the property of Beacons. As you all voted for unanimous approval to proceed back in May. And obviously with the grass and the weeds still growing over there, needs to be cut from time to time. Sometime in May I had the property cut with a brush hog. And then on July 3rd, I had a phone call from John Schulte who said the grass is getting too long to get cut. I said, okay. I said, it's the 4th of July weekend, so not much I can do about it for a couple of days. And then Monday, about in the afternoon, Officer Jabrell called me and said, are you the Russell Building Company in charge of Deeplands? Well, I got several frustrations here. Is that professionalism in the police department, they should look up who owns the property. No matter if it's yours, Tina, or yours, Ted, or mine on Lakeshore or whatever. They should know who owns the property before they make the phone call. And the Russell Building Company, which is owned by my cousin Gordy, okay, doesn't own Deeplands. The Deeplands Development Company owns Deeplands. And yes, I am the manager. So he got the right person, but he didn't know what he was talking about. So I kind of pulled his chain a little bit. I said, well, no, this is, Russell Building is not in charge of Deeplands. So I explained it to him. You need to get your grass cut. I said, okay. I said, give me a couple days. I'll get it scheduled, and I'll call Tom, who's the building department, and I'll notify him when it's going to happen. He says, get it done by Friday, or I'm going to give you a ticket. Our family's just trying to reinvest in the property there. We're trying to reinvest in the community. We're trying to do a lawful activity, which you authorized. That's all we're trying to do. I was over there on 11 o'clock on Tuesday with one of my partners and also our landscaper, who happens to be Brett Russell, Gordy's son. He owns a landscape company. You'll see his red trucks around. And I was going to meet with him to schedule the work. Within 2 or 3 minutes of us all meeting at the property at 11 o'clock, Mr. Jabrell shows up again. He parks the wrong way on Deeplands in front of a fire hydrant and gets out of his car. Again, that's a disregard. It's a lack of respect that we're feeling here. Like, what is he doing parking the wrong way in front of a fire hydrant? There was no party going on Deeplands. Everybody could park properly. We were parked legally. And then he proceeded to tell me that we better get this done by Friday or else we're going to get a ticket. I said, I'm here with my landscaper officer to try and get this work scheduled. And then 2 more police cars showed up. The entire shift showed up on Deeplands. And then they start lecturing me about not working after 6 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. What are you guys talking about? It's this harassment. And that's the word I use because that's what I'm feeling. I'm being harassed. We're just trying to carry on a lawful activity. The grass needed cutting. No question about it. I said, okay, I'll see what I can do. Turns out I got it scheduled for Wednesday, and it was taken care of. I didn't need 3 police officers who should be doing something else in the city and utilizing the village's taxpayers' money more efficiently than showing up to have some show of force. I mean, if I really was that much out of compliance, mail me a ticket. But I wasn't. They said, get it done. I said, fine, I'll let you know. So when I did get it scheduled, I called Tom, told him it was going to get done. And, but 3 police cars, I would get it. You know, the last time I got a ticket, or I got a letter from the chief about grass coverage was last year. He mailed it to my house on Lakeshore. Well, Deeplands Development Company's office is on Kercheval. Again, there's no proper procedures, no proper follow-through as to who we're actually talking to, who actually we're responding to or requesting it, or someone do something. I understand that there's been people driving around in the city trucks looking for code violations. Well, I don't really care, but Lakeshore's out of compliance. You've got 12-inch, 14-inch grass behind the yellow tape. Now, I don't know, did the chief give you, Brett, did you get a ticket from the chief, you know, or did you get threatened that you're gonna get one because you didn't cut the grass? Mayor, did you get one? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I really resent the fact that myself, my wife, and my stepson have over 100 years of residency in this city. And yet we feel like if something really was going to go wrong, we'd be afraid to call the police department. We really feel that way. There's no respect for the police because they don't give us the respect as residents. I just don't understand what's going on. Mayor, you're the boss. I'm asking you to tell them to lay off. Okay?
Rich, have you talked to Chief Schulte or?
I have not spoken with the chief. I didn't think that was proper. I think coming here tonight, you know, when you got a complaint, you go to the top and you ask, you know, you, the boss, to deal with this. And that's what I felt was proper.
Well, I promise and I'll follow up.
I mean, I would prefer a meeting face to face, you know, to say, hey, you know, in other words, I'm not going out of my way. I'm going to let the weeds grow until I really, you know, cause a problem. No, that's not us. I mean, if I put yellow tape around the property, that means I don't have to cut my grass. Okay, I'll do that tomorrow. You know, it costs me $1,000 every
But
time I cut.
it's all screened, so it's not visible, is what you're saying, right? I mean,
I was out of compliance, and I took care of it. Okay, I get that. But the way it goes, the way the police department. So then I said to the 3 officers, I go, why are you hassling us? Oh, you know, and Brett had to leave. He had a meeting at 11:30. He couldn't even wait to get scheduled. He says, Rich, I got to go. I'll call you later. So he took off. So I couldn't even conduct business because the police department was taking up all of my time. And I said to him, guys, why are you hassling me? Well, we were told to. Oh, where'd that come from? From their boss.
well, Rich, I'll call the chief tomorrow and see maybe if you want, maybe we have a face-to-face meeting.
I would like that very much.
Okay. All right, thanks for coming.
Let me speak to this.
Okay.
I'm the one who made the complaint to the chief, because he's a compliance officer.
Right.
I had 2 residents call me to let me know that it had not been cut in time. The weeds were growing actually through the green covering that you got there, over the top of it.
Okay.
That's what triggered him to do that.
Right.
I didn't order 3 police cars in that, you know, but I'm the one that made the original complaint to the chief.
Well, it needed cutting, but that's not why I'm here.
Okay.
It's the process, and it's the attitude and the bullying that I feel, and the disrespect that we feel as a family that is over the top. It needs to stop.
Well, Rich, I promise I'll follow up.
Okay. And I'll promise to keep the grass cut.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. But Mark?
Since the chief works for me, and I work for the council, should go through those channels as well. Bringing it up here tonight, I'll be happy to send the council, if there were police reports written on this issue, we'll be happy to do that. Some of the comments, told you before, if you have a problem with them, let me know.
Okay.
We'll go through channels.
I thought the chief was independent of the manager. I didn't know that.
All employees work for the city manager, and I work for the city council. That's the process under this charter and under most charters. And I don't know, I only heard secondhand some of the others, but I'll pull and I'll be happy to send you a copy of if there was a police report written. I didn't know 3 cars showed up for it. I know what John Jevriel does when he's on duty, a lot of code enforcement work. And we appreciate you taking care of it, and that's all we're interested in compliance on those issues. I don't know why we had 3, but I'm gonna pull the police report and find out.
I don't even know why there was anybody on site when he said, get it done. I said, well, fine, I'll get it scheduled and call you back.
In this past, you have been compliant on those issues, so I don't know what exactly was said other than what you said this evening in terms of that. So those aren't the way we expect people to be dealt with in this community, whether you're a developer, a resident, or otherwise. Sometimes we do have to let people go.
You know,
We
too-
haven't had to in your case. so.
My two young partners were texting each other about this issue, and one of them took off and went to the coffee shop. He wouldn't show up on the property till the police left. Well, no, no.
All right. Well, we're sorry about that. That's not how we expect it to be.
Well, Mark will follow up tomorrow. We can call you tomorrow.
Let's have a meeting.
Okay.
That's another item. Dr. Perry's gonna stand up here in a minute. And whatever he says is true. Absolutely. There's not one exaggeration. There's not one lie. Everything he says is absolutely the truth, and we need to deal with it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, let's hear this.
Any more public comment? But it's quite an introduction.
Rick Perry out of that 910 Lake Shore, better known as the Old English phone booth house. And I was here last year and presented a similar topic, so it's not necessarily new business, but it's a renewal this year of maybe what's worse activity on the lake than we saw last year. 2 years ago we had a problem where there were people out late night on weeknights. I queried the council and we had the city attorney that basically gave us the assessment that we have jurisdiction on the water, but we have no means of enforcement. So that was really a non-solution, and I'm not sure if anything has happened in the intervening time other than now we're up against it again. So this last weekend we had heavy northerly winds. We had people anchoring literally within 10 feet of the seawall. If one of those anchors breaks loose, I mean, not only is it bad seamanship, you need to have room if your anchor breaks loose to recover your vehicle, to recover your watercraft. But furthermore, the activities that were on the boat, there was a group of boats that had jet skis, and the jet skis were ducking and weaving and splashing each other and cutting off the seawall and around people and swimmers. And really, there's great risk out there. The behaviors, the substances being used, let alone the offense of the music, the residents on the water who like to use our property on weekends, that's when we're there. And if you have friends over in the middle of the afternoon on a Sunday, and there's people anchored 10 and 20 feet off the seawall, it makes it difficult to enjoy your property. Furthermore, there's risk to my own property. If I have a portable dock that's fully within the regulations and watercraft on it, and they come out of control or their boat, the anchor pulls up and they destroy my property, I doubt I'm going to have a means to address that. So I'm concerned about the safety to the people on the lake, to the residents that live along the lake shore, to our community. If somebody gets badly injured out there, it's really our responsibility. If we have jurisdiction, I would assume, if we have jurisdiction, we have responsibility, although I'm not a lawyer, I'm a physician. But we need to have a means to address issues that are unsafe on Lakeshore. And I'm not coming up with the solution. I'm bringing up the problem as now a repeat episode, and perhaps this thing that happened last, it was Wednesday night. There were 6 boats with these jet skis cutting and bobbing and weaving, and clearly alcohol and other substances and loud music, and very, very unsafe. And then dusk came, and you can't have a jet ski on the water. It has no running lights, so it's not legal after dusk. And so those people were clearly in violation. Whether or not they were inconsiderate or poor seamen, they clearly were breaking, what our marine laws at that point. And since that's our jurisdiction and it's creating a hazard, if another boater had hit, one of the jet skis or a person that fell off them, there may be, bigger issues, and liability. So I'm looking for the council or for somebody to evaluate possibilities. For example, if Wayne County has the staff, do we have a direct access to Wayne County so that there'll be a response? We happen to, on that night, have a Macomb County officer boat come down. I don't know the exact details of how that occurred, but it was addressed, and it was a clearly unsafe situation. So the question is, why don't we, as you know, our village name is Grosse Pointe Shores. We're on the shores. If we don't have an ability to manage what is our greatest asset and keep it safe, I think we're not doing what we should do as a municipality. So whether it's a better communication with the county or with a better mechanism, or whether it means we look at providing you know, a mechanism of our own, where you know we provide a Marine division that is staffed on critical weekends or critical times. Again, I don't have the solution. I just know that I'm afraid of what's happening out there now, so close to all of our residents.
Well, Doctor, you raised a very good point. I know we had complaints last year from a number of residents, and we were told, and I'm not sure about the jurisdictional issue, and I'm supposed to know, I'm technically a lawyer, but there was a question whether or not we do have jurisdiction.
But earlier in the year, the chief got up and told us that he had made arrangements with Wayne County.
This is at Grosse Pointe Farms.
They have a boat available that could respond to what you're talking about. It's unfortunate the chief left early, but
Well, we stepped out and talked to him, and first of all, he didn't seem to have a solution. I don't want to speak for him, but we weren't offered a tenable solution. At one point, he said they're down in Trenton.
yeah, but
So,
yeah, but he said to us, and I think we got to clarify it. He said to us earlier in the year that there was a boat at the farms that they would be willing to provide, and that we could man it ourselves with their assistance to go out there and bust up these hooligans.
I think he said something about the boat from Macomb being able to.
No, it was the farms.
Right, that's, but
No, I know,
he's
but-
talking about
Problem is
staffing
that-
a boat.
that,
The
again,
chief
I'm
said
not an
we
attorney,
don't
but
have
Macomb
staffing.
County Sheriff
We
can't,
would respond on a call basis.
Macomb County Sheriff can't write a ticket for somebody that's in
I
the
understand.
county.
But if you bring a police boat through there, I guess that's.
Oh, yeah, no, and that's what happened the other night.
That's
I mean,
what I'm
they chased him out. And I don't know that they wrote him a ticket, but
Right.
the presence of that police boat solved what was really potentially life-threatening situation with the behavior that was going on.
Doc, I sympathize with you, and I talked to Jenny a little bit about this too, because, you know, just going out here to the park and seeing how close them boats park to your houses, you know, now that the water's up, it's ridiculous.
Doctor,
I'm Jenny
I'm not.
Rice, and we're at 8 Fair Lake. We're also on the lake. We've also had these musical concerts at 2 a.m. in the morning, 1 a.m. in the morning, and also are too close to our seawall, especially now with the high water. The house next to us doesn't have a seawall that's visible anymore. It's underwater. So if a boat gets too close, it's going to be in their yard. And back to the, one of the neighbors called, had tried to get someone to do it from the shores, I guess, and called Macomb County. They did send a police boat down, and they did ticket people. And so I don't know legally, you know, the jurisdiction about that. All I know is that we live in Wayne County, but we're right on the Macomb County line. I'm going to tell them next time I'm in Macomb County. But I think that we've got to find a solution, because it's all of us that had them too close, especially with the water so high now.
You know, I'm not sure what the law is. I believe it's 150 feet. But lakefront property owners are allowed to put buoys for a swimming area. And I think if you and your neighbors were all to agree to put, you know, restricted area swimming zone and put the buoys all the way down along the shoreline, those boats couldn't go in that area. And the other thing is that I think it would be valuable to maybe send an email to Tim Colleen and ask him if we could get the Wayne County Sheriff to add a patrol along our residential area in that zone, because The other residential areas, the houses are set back across the street. You guys are literally on the water. And then the last thing is that, you know, the Coast Guard basically has 3 vessels on Lake St. Clair. And there's, you know, they keep one down by Belle Isle, and then they keep one up by 16 Mile, but there's one right at the nautical mile at 9 Mile. And I think it would be worth also contacting the Coast Guard, telling about this dangerous situation that's been taking place. I myself on Saturday night saw, after the Ford House had the concert and the fireworks, out of nowhere, like it can happen on the lake, the winds went crazy, and there were 6 boats rafted together, and an anchor line broke, just as you mentioned, Doctor, and a 45-foot Chris Craft and a 27-foot runabout were still tied to each other. And when the anchor line broke, the captains of those 2 boats were on the other boats they were rafted to. 15 passengers, none of them knew even how to start a boat. And those 4-foot waves and the winds blew it right over to our north wall, and just started slamming those boats into our seawall, and the one was about to sink. I mean, it was terrible. It could have been a very, very bad situation. So, point is I think if the Coast Guard's aware of it, we get a hold of our representative, Tim Killeen, and say, hey, listen, we need some support, and then see about marking off a swimming area with buoys. I think that those are viable solutions to this issue.
By the way, I did call the Coast Guard last year. I called them twice, and they keep telling me the same thing. They're not able, that's not their responsibility, is what I was told.
They told us that it's for life threatening. They're there to save drowning people or people that are, so one thing if you have, you know, drugs, the drunken behavior, irrational, you know, seamanship, but they're not coming for that.
I understand, but
They're coming if you say, in order for us to get a response, we gotta call and say, I think somebody's drowning.
So my friend's a reserve on the Coast Guard, and he rides with them a lot. And basically, they have routes that they ride every night. They're out there. So if you ask them to make an evening stop as part of their patrol, if they could work that in, I mean, that's totally reasonable. It,
From the council, not necessarily from a private resident, who might have more weight.
Well, we
To
could-
address the issue of the buoys, we've been told that the buoys are not legal and that we don't have any rights on the water. And in fact, just spoke to the chief of police who told us that the buoys that are out there from one resident are not legal. So
well, I'm looking at the state of Michigan's website under the public rights on Michigan waters, and it indicates for inland lakes, which Lake St. Clair is, basically it's not a Great Lake, it's an inland lake, even though it's a big one. And lakefront owners have 150 feet. So, you know, if you've got a dock and a boat hoist, people aren't allowed to come into that space. And I think you could float some buoys. I don't know. I think it's worth looking into it and getting a further opinion on it.
Why don't we have our city attorney address that for you, okay? So
Yeah.
you will have him,
Spend
yeah,
money.
and then we will contact you and let you know directly.
And then the other thing is, so who would the, who's the chief of police, who would we call next time?
911.
No, you call the Wayne County Sheriff Marine Division. I'll get a number to you if you want to give me an email, and you can call right at their office. And the point about having the Coast Guard add that to their patrol is not that they're going to do anything, but they get on the radio and they have direct access, and they call either Macomb or Wayne, depending on where they're at, and they go, hey, there's a situation going and we need backup, and they'll get there like that because the Coast Guard called them.
Yeah, we'll send a
But don't we
communication
call,
to
but
everybody.
can't, I mean,
Assume
even
that
if we
that's
call
the case.
911?
Yeah, but you can call 911, but I'll get the numbers or put a communication.
That didn't work for you?
But I think, Doctor, you're looking for the council to sign something and maybe put the county on notice, you know, because of a concern from.
If we could summarize this and give recommendations to the owners that are, we have a gathering of these. If we can get some recommendations about how to respond, I'm not just talking about my own self, we can hurry, I'm talking about safety
Sure, and the last thing is like Bruce and Bob said, you know, we were offered the use of a boat. I don't know if we have to get one of our police officers licensed in some specific way to captain a boat, but for what reason? Well, he talked to him. No, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's so bad that like during the day you don't feel comfortable bringing friends or little kids out in that area because of what's going on in the bows of the boat. It's insane. That's crazy. Well, we moved. No, we need it.
Sure.
Well, we'll talk to the chief and see what it's going to take to maybe add. I think if just the presence of a police boat occurs a couple of times, that maybe people will find another place to hang out. Because, you know, 2 weekends ago we were out there with a group of friends, and this one group pulled up. There's no way they had enough life jackets for it. And then the guy puts a stripper pole on the bow of the boat, and I'm going, what is going on? I mean, I mean,
You got binoculars.
Just a motor.
Well, Doctor, thanks for coming. I'm- Oh my gosh.
You need Chevy Chase.
It's terrible.
Well, Doctor, thanks for coming, and
Yeah,
Jenny,
we
thanks
will-
for coming.
We will
We
get
promise we'll
something on
follow
this.
up.
We will follow up on this,
Okay.
'cause it's, okay.
If you guys can give me an address, I will follow up.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Good evening, council, mayor, Mark, Harry Kurtz, 1040 Lakeshore. Just briefly, everything they're saying, we're seeing it, it's insane. I don't know, maybe we ought to make a deal and just pay Macomb County to patrol. I mean, towns do that. I don't know why the Grosse Points don't get together and have a joint patrol boat, because there's a lot of other houses on the lake. They're not on the other side of Lakeshore, down in Grosse Point Farms and Grosse Point Park and Grosse Point City. So it's a nightmare. And with the high water, they run the wakes right over. I mean, you ought to see all the junk we got to clear off our lawn and everything. So, and the sea-doos are just as bad. We're sitting in the back and we didn't hear, did Mr. Seeley's motion pass or not pass? We didn't
Pass 4-3.
the motion passed. Okay, thank you. One quick thing, and I'll say this to Mark because the chief's not here. They've started having our PSOs show up at these Ford House events, and I want to tell you how much of a difference that makes to us. They're just wonderful, and when one of our cars is parked there, everybody behaves themselves. You know, and they put the barrels out. It's just, we're really grateful for that because it's been scary in the past. Yeah, when Cipriano mentioned the MRSA, that got my attention. I mean, that's crazy. We just can't even be messing around with that. I've got a question, and I'm glad you're still here. You may have historical recollection of this, but it came up. Some of us were remembering we used to have these wonderful golf outings with, you know, it was everybody in the community and the public safety officers and all that. And we were trying to remember what happened with that. Why did we just stop doing it? Not to burden you, Allison, with more responsibilities, but it was just a terrific thing. And do you have any recall? Oh, that doesn't ring a bell. Okay. Well, someone mentioned there was some technicality in the, not Mark, but a previous city manager had some consternation about it, and I just wondered if we could revisit that. Does that ring a bell at all, Brett? Oh, really? Okay. So it wasn't some technicality about us doing it? No, okay. All right, well, it was great, and I just tossed that out for you. Bring our community together a little bit, and good chance for it.
Thanks, Harry. Any more public comment?
Good evening. My name is John T. Sego, address 86 Lockmore Boulevard, north side of the street. I lived in Grosse Pointe Shores for over 22 years at 2 different households. So married over 35 years, 5 children, 8 grandchildren, veteran of the Army and the Air Force. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for letting me say a few words tonight in the public comments section of tonight's meeting. The names are Mrs. A and Mrs. B, lounging at our pool with their kids. Call them CA and DA and EB and FB. 2 girls, 2 boys, enjoying the day. One of the girls forgets her goggles, asks Mom to go to the car to go get them. So CA and EB go to the parking lot, and next thing you know, 5 minutes pass, 10 minutes passed. No kids. You get the picture. Well, thankfully, this will probably not happen in our parking lot with the new gatehouse. A gatehouse that prevents predators and traffickers from coming into the park. I can't thank the council and the mayor enough for voting to have the guardhouse built, even though there was 1 vote that was against it. Also, I thank the mayor and council for voting not to raise taxes against, and that was not a unanimous vote either. I have spoken, in regards to the gatehouse, I have spoken to several residents, and I've had a 100% approval by these people about the gatehouse and for not having our taxes raised. Point 2, when they were talking about the cement and the asphalt product procedures and then have to redo it, isn't there a protocol or building inspectors or cement inspectors that visit the stages for these to be made so you don't have to redo it? Why in God's name would you start to pour concrete in December? That seems kind of ludicrous.
They did 696.
Well, whatever it is, and you're such a small community, and we're redoing things. It's just, isn't there a building code that you just say no?
First of all, Brett uses either of 2 engineering firms that will test the material on as to the specific requirements for all asphalt content of the asphalt, or we take samples of concrete as well, and those are sent out. In the case of Colonial, he mentioned one case where the loads, when we checked them with the engineering report, were not acceptable, but they were put down to maintain that over the winter. The negotiations resulted in them pulling those out pretty much at their cost. In the case of Colonial, with DTE, Brett negotiated that they were paying for that. They're going to wreck up most of the street with their gas program. Tests were done fine. The engineers were there to monitor it, and the final rolling of the thing resulted in many bird paths. And residents, we had the inspector there for that and tried to stop them, and they're going to be pulling out. And you're right, those are the things. It's just like you don't fix the street without checking the cement underneath it or the pipes underneath it as well. You don't always get them right, but in this case, both these cases, we had inspectors on the job testing what they needed to do, and we're following up, and the repairs are being done at other cities.
Yeah, that's good. I'm just curious why the inspectors had these failure modes.
Correct in asking that, and we do that. One of the things the council has also provided, in many cases, the it's not necessary to use the engineers to design, if we know that we're cutting out a particular section of the road where, like Councilmember Ellis mentioned earlier, if we got a sinking, catch basin in front of our house, we know what it's gonna take to fix that. We're not gonna have the engineers and pay them, just like we do in some cases. It's necessary because there's specific things involved, but one of the things Brett didn't mention earlier is, besides us writing what we're gonna do in terms of the budget, approved, repairs for this year, we're looking at where we need inspection on those, and some of the things, or where we need testing in advance or specific design that we know. We're concerned about Oxford. It's come up in our discussions through the finance committee for many years, and we're looking at what it's gonna take to do some temporary repairs so we can fully replace that as well. So, but the council has given us the flexibility to use the engineers when the legitimate, knowledgeable staff thinks we need to, and we always provide testing and compare those to the products that we have. Thank you for asking.
Well, thank you, Doctor, for your comments. Any more public comment? Not council comments. Bob? Matt?
Just that, I think, our park is our jewel. It's our greatest asset as a city, and it's where our community comes together. And I don't understand that in a limited season, when the weather is only good for a few months, why our park committee isn't meeting on a monthly basis, number one. And number two, that it should be a priority to make sure that when residents have guests or family reunions or pool parties or whatever, that they can go into the facilities and feel proud of where they live. And I'm really glad that we're finally putting this on the front burner and addressing these locker rooms. It's a big issue, and it needs to get done yesterday. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Tina?
A couple of things. I wasn't going to say anything, but this brought up last week in the Grosse Pointe News. There was a big article about the Grosse Pointe city manager in the park was retired, and they were looking to fill that spot. And they had a pretty in-depth interview with the previous city manager of Grosse Pointe Park, and he equated his job and why he loved it so much was he wanted every resident of Grosse Pointe Park to feel like they belong to a private club when they come into their parks, when they come into all of their amenities. And I thought that was pretty interesting of how he viewed it, because I think of our park as a private club. It is like a private club as far as the amenities that they have. And so I think if we start to think that way about our residents and our parks and our the things that we have here in this city, maybe we will be as successful as the Grosse Pointe Park. That was just, I found that very interesting. Also for the residents on Lakeshore, and on the water side, I empathize with you wholeheartedly. As a boater, as a statement of solidarity, I refuse to ever park in that area of the lake. I just won't do it because I think it's rude to the people that live there, and the activities that go on there, I don't agree with. And so I empathize with you and know that between Matt and I, we will try to figure out a resolution. We can't, ban everybody there, but hopefully we can clean this up and they can, go about their business. There's a big lake out there. I don't know why they just don't keep going that way a little bit further. So we will work on it.
Thank you, Tina. Bruce?
I'm all set, thanks.
Bob? Doug? Good. Well, summer's gone by very quickly. Tomorrow's our last swim meet against the Grosse Pointe Park Mutants. Allison, you've enjoyed these swim meets, and so come cheer on our swim team. It's at 5:30 at our park tomorrow. Every 6 years, we are the host of the prelims and the finals for all the Grosse Pointes, including St. Clair Shores. This year's our turn, 2019. So next Tuesday are the preliminaries that Grosse Pointe Shores is hosting at the Grosse Pointe Woods Park, because we don't have sufficient parking. And then also the finals are next Wednesday at 5:30. And it's just great to see all the children from Grosse Pointe, all the Grosse Pointes and St. Clair Shores. it's just really a fun event. I tell you to really to look forward to it. Our fishing derby, this is I think our 9th or 8th fishing derby, is this Saturday at 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. I purchased the prizes. I'll drop them off Allison at the park office tomorrow. And we have, the chief has trophies. We have our master trophy for the biggest fish caught, and trophies and prizes for the smallest fish, and until all the prizes are distributed. The most fish caught, you know, and the kids are just so anxious. It's just wonderful to see. Generally, they say, can we do this every month? So you know that you're really reaching a great audience. July 4th, we had a wonderful time at our fireworks party. We had wonderful weather. It wasn't buggy. I mean, when I entered about 5 hours before the fireworks, they told me I was around 910 people that had entered the park. So that's great. Last Sunday was our community splash party, and that's when we were hearing about the condition of the bathhouses and the restroom from some of the residents. But everyone had a great time. The concession stand was busy. Full Circle was staffing it the entire time. Boy, a lot of sun and a lot of fun. The swimming pool was packed, and my hat's off to Allison and to Kay Drake for keeping it very well organized and very well running. Then upcoming events. The swim team camp out and movie night is tomorrow, July 17th. That's our annual camp out. It's the only day you can legally camp out at our park and stay overnight. It's just a wonderful time. I just hope it's not too hot and not too humid, because some of the parents stay, and I was one of those parents many years ago, and it can be kind of rough. We have movie night at the park on Thursday, August 15th. Our annual tennis tournament is August 24th. Allison, you're our new park director. She's planning some new exciting activities, so stay tuned. Last Thursday, Mark and I met with the other mayors and managers, and we met with Mike Duggan, who came for about an hour of the meeting. And we talked about our seawall. He talked about his seawall at Jefferson Connors. He had ordered 130,000 bags of sand, and he said it's not enough. So he reordered 125,000 bags of sand. The Jefferson Chalmers area and the Fox Creek and that area is just inundated with water, and basically it's like living in Key West. The water table and everything are right at the height of your property. So the only solution, he said, is to put an iron wall, an iron gate essentially. But then none of the residents who have boats there and lived there for many years would be able to use their boat. He also was talking about ways we can better collaborate. He wants Mack Avenue to be seamless, so that when you drive on Mack Avenue, there's no differentiation, there's no distinction between the Detroit border and Grosse Pointe border, which means that we're going to work with them. They're going to order lights so that the lights are even similar, the lampposts are similar. I mean, we have to remember we're connected to Detroit, and Detroit's booming right now, thanks to people like Dan Gilbert. Rest his, hopefully he comes back ever so strong. But a strong Detroit makes for a strong Grosse Pointe. So we can't forget that. And finally, on a sad note, I have to announce the passing of one of our great residents, Bob Liggett. And you know, what a outstanding man, a self-made man who had the entrepreneurial spirit. You know, he got involved as a disc jockey. He's featured in the Arcadia book, Michigan Rock and Roll. And he ended up buying radio stations and parlaying into an empire. And then he had other enterprises like Big Boys, and I had the good fortune of meeting him for breakfast a couple times, and of course at Big Boys. And it was Bob Liggett and John Armley, his good friend, that sponsored the writing of our book, that Mark was able to get a very talented writer to write the Village of Grosse Pointe Shores that we have upstairs. And so we really miss him. I mean, he was a smart guy, 1969 graduate of Wayne State Law School, 10 years before my day there at Wayne State. I mean, let's remember Bob and his wife and family in our prayers. And I hate to end on a sad note, but at this point, our next meeting is Tuesday, August 20th, the same day the park committee meets. I need, yes?
Could I make a couple more comments at the
Sure.
Number one, I wanted to thank Rhonda for her donation to the fireworks tonight. That was very, very generous of you, and I think the kids really had a great time with your donation. And I wanted to thank Mark also for all of the work he did raising sponsorship money. I mean, Mark brought in about half of the sponsorship money for the event, which was really an enormous contribution. I wanted to thank him for that. And then finally say that, you know, Mary Wilson was here tonight, and Ted and I and Mark were at the Legacy on the Lake event, and she offered to match, it was a fundraiser, dollar for dollar, whatever they raised that night. Well, they raised a little over $150,000, so she matched it and then announced that the money would be divided by the 5 cities and given to them equally for use for their parks. So that's really great news that we're going to be able to have that. Go ahead, Mark.
I just want to add, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm sorry she's not here. She's really a super person. If she needs them, she rides a bike with her. She talks to me or the chief or something. She's really great.
Or golf cart.
Yeah, tonight's a golf cart. But that money, that $300,000 runs through the Legacy Lake program is in, it's with the Community Foundation of Detroit, and we will get to use, just like their foundation, in order to be funded, we'll get to use the use of the interest each year. So whatever they make in terms of that, we'll find that out. I know the final numbers have not come from the family. It's really a neat way to give back to our specific community as well as the other government.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
That's a more positive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's a
sounds a lot
positive.
more positive.